And we are live. Good evening. It's now gone 8 o'clock, as usual, as what would it be without technical difficulties? But we are back doing Doctor Who once again. And as you know, Series 12 has come and gone, and out of Series 12 and talk about what we liked about the show, what we didn't like about the show, what we would have changed, what we would have done better, what we think we could have done to make the show improve our general opinion and general thoughts. But we're going to go through it episode by episode first. And joining me tonight is Chris. You might not recognize him because he was just a picture before. But no, there's the forget the face of Bo. It's the face of Chris. So your sound just dropped out. Yeah, your microphone just dropped out right now. Like right now. You started speaking and your microphone just turned off. Again, technical difficulty. It wouldn't be Doctor Who Night without it. It wouldn't be. Let me see if I got. Oh, your mic's unmuted. Something has gone kaput.
How
There you
about
go. I got a good sound now.
that's a different microphone, so it's not as good as the one on the camera, but it's working.
It sounds good to me.
Okay.
But anyway, introduce yourself, Chris.
Hello, I'm Chris.
There we go. Good stuff. Everything you needed to know, all in one sentence. So let's start off. Right, Doctor Who Series 12 landed, and it was what was it? New Year's Day.
It was.
It landed with Spyfall Part 1. Spyfall Part 1, where quite a bit happened in that episode. We got introduced to new characters. We got introduced to the old characters. They were brought together in a rather interesting way via being kidnapped by a remote control car that tried to kill them. And then we got introduced to Stephen Fry's character, OC, and that didn't last very long, I'm afraid.
Not very long at all, no.
So be aware, spoilers in this, by the way. There's this big disclaimer, spoilers. Also, we were introduced to Sacha Dhawan's character, O, and we'll talk about the reveal later on. But
oh dear.
But if I'm going to be fairly honest here about Spyfall Part 1, if I'm putting Spyfall Part 1 against The Woman Who Fell to Earth, there's no contest. Spyfall Part 1 is a much better story, much better episode, better filmed, faster paced, more intriguing to watch, curious as to where things are going, and nice little reveals throughout. As to the setup of where the characters are and how they come back together. I thought it was for a cold open episode. I thought it was put together pretty well. I have my issues where we'll get on to talking about that a little bit later when we've done Spyfall Part 2. In fact, we'll probably leave that till after we've covered all the episodes. But my general impression after seeing the first episode back was they could have done a hell of a lot worse. And for I haven't seen a good open to the show. I haven't felt a good open to the show anyway for Doctor Who like that for any season, including Peter Capaldi. I don't think Peter Capaldi had such a good opener. I think the last time we had a really good opener to a series was probably Matt Smith, the astronaut. I think that's probably the last real solid good cold open we've had to a Doctor Who season for quite a while. I mean, what's your opinion on it, Chris?
It was a good episode, as you say. It was well paced. It was very well shot. The sound was good. The new theme tune has grown on me quite considerably.
Yeah,
but it was definitely better than the Woman That Fell to Earth. But I'm going to disagree with you. I think the opener to Series 10, I can't remember the name of it, the one we meet Bill.
Pilot.
yeah, I think that was a better episode for me personally, for what I like watching. But
So I can see where you're coming from with it. But what I'm looking at is that this was a cold open. So we were catching up whereby I know the cold open for Pilot was we were being introduced to a new character, but I think with this one, with this one whereby time a passage of time has gone on, and people have moved on in their lives, and I think that there were nice things that happened in Spyfall that give us a bit more about the characters and where the characters were. Like for example, you see Graham in hospital having a checkup again. Those little character moments that really sort of filled out what was happening in these characters' lives. I think done a better job of informing us on what was going on than what we had previously. That's just like I said. Pilot is a nice opener. The only thing I don't like with Pilot, I've got to be honest though, is the actual liquidy, watery person. I just think that was a kind of a crap MacGuffin. as far as as far as Doctor Who MacGuffins and aliens go, I just didn't think it worked very well, and it was one that come back to the show later on. But no, crack on,
Yeah, I enjoyed Lenny Emery. I mean, he's from. I think I remember him most from Tiswas when I was a kid. He's come a long way through his stand-up comedy and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, Razzmatazz. I thought he was great. He was malevolent in a very calm kind of way.
So my thoughts on Lenny Henry are the same as my thoughts with Stephen Fry. I'm so glad they were in the show. I wish they were served better. Like I think Stephen Fry shouldn't have died. I think his character was a good character that could have been used as a way to, because they've dissolved. And let's get into it. They've dissolved UNIT. It doesn't exist anymore. Torchwood doesn't exist anymore. In the Doctor Who universe, these things are no longer there. So Stephen Fry's character was a good character to kind of get things going again. To kind of go, right, we've got a blank slate here. Let's use this character as a way to influence. He's going back and forth Parliament. He's going back and forth Downing Street. He's back and forth. He's liaising with the Doctor to be able to get, a bit of cohesion on the go, a bit of. Just to get things moving again, but maybe a reformed UNIT, whereby and again that's a good reason then to bring back other characters, being the fact that he was playing C, which is supposed to be the head of MI6. He could have brought back. He's a great excuse to bring back old companions. Like I would have to have somebody as the head of UNIT I think I told you before when we were chatting on Facebook. I would have used C as a character to bring back Brigadier Bombera.
Yeah.
Just in a different role. Now she's part of maybe the Lords or something like that, whereby she's in back and forth Brussels, working with the EU to try to get something going like, and why not? Just bring her back. She doesn't have to be in it throughout the show. She's just got to be in 1 or 2 episodes. That's it. And it would have been something nice for the fans, and it would have made sense story wise with what was going on. But the fact that they killed C off straight away, I mean, it was literally bringing the Doctor and then killed him off. What a waste of Stephen Fry. Yeah, it was. They could have done so much more, and that's a shame. And the same with Lenny Henry. I'm afraid. Like I liked what they did with him. I liked with what they did with his character. I would have preferred them to have given him a bit more meat because he's got more range.
I was surprised. Spoilers. That we didn't see him again later on down the line.
I mean, I'm glad that we could. I'm really glad that we could. But if you're going to bring him back, just remember the guy has got massive amounts of range, not just twirly mustachy bad guy.
Yeah.
and he has. I mean, like you probably remember that the TV series Chef.
Yep.
He's an award-winning. He's not just like he came from. Bear in mind, he's the second Tiswas guy to know. I think second Tiswas guy to appear in Doctor Who. The first one being Sylvester McCoy, obviously. But you're right. Yeah, I mean, to go from Tiswas throughout his career, the Lenny Henry show. And here's the thing, man. The guy's in 61.
Yeah, I know.
61. I mean, come on. That guy is. He doesn't age.
No, well, I'd imagine he's stopped touring this week, but
Yeah.
a couple of months back, we made him a bag at work for his boombox that he has on stage. And I'm assuming he's doing Razzmatazz again. I haven't seen a live show for a while, but yeah, we made a bag for him to carry that around in. So he's still out there touring on the stage as well.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, if you didn't know who Lenny Henry was and somebody told you he was 61, I don't think you'd believe him, because he just does. He doesn't have the age on it. It doesn't show on his face at all.
I know. Where did he start? He was on Opportunity Knocks in the 70s, wasn't he?
In the 70s, yeah, 74. So he's been out there for 45 years. I mean, by the way, we're talking about Sir Lenny Henry.
Sir Lenny Henry, yeah.
Sir Lenny Henry. A man that has literally changed the face of this planet.
Yeah.
A guy that put something together that has literally saved the lives of hundreds of millions of people. When you're talking about accomplishments, there's people that have done the odd thing here or there, and there's Lenny Henry. This guy has literally saved starving masses. The lot. People don't realize, like, you wouldn't have Red Nose Day without him.
No.
He was literally the founder of that. But anyway, so that's Spyfall Part 1, except for the fact that at the end of the episode, we get a reveal. Sacha Dhawan playing the character of O. He's supposed to be a secret agent that's a spy that's working for MI6. He's in the middle of the outback in Australia. They show up. They're not sure what's going on. They get on board a plane that's taking off. They're airborne. And then the reveal comes that he is the spy master. And it was a good reveal. I'll give him that. It was a very good reveal. No, I can't say too much about this in terms of negativity, because it's exactly what I would have done. We were talking about this I think it was when we were doing Sea Devils.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking almost a year ago. We was predicting this, what we would do.
Yeah, and we were going through, like, what would we do with the Master and how would we do it and what. And I remember us having the conversation and going, well, what would you do with the Master? And it was just like, I'd bring him back straight away. It's like, it's only been a year. It's like, yeah, but that's why you would do it, because it's the unpredictability of it.
And we both said, and if they bring him back, they need to turn him into a mad bastard that kills people.
Yeah, we said that was it. It was a case of he needs to. If I remember rightly, and I think if we go back and watch it, I think our exact thing that what we said needed to happen, our agreed opinion was, he needs to destroy a planet. He needs to be a threat. He needs to be a deadly threat that's willing to kill people cold-heartedly, and he has to do something huge. He has to do something whereby he is a genuine threat to the world at large, and he has destroyed a planet. And lo and behold, Sacha Dhawan comes back. He has the tissue compressor with him, and he's annihilated Gallifrey. So I cannot pick holes with this character, because I would have done exactly the same. I probably wouldn't have done the O reveal, but I can't take any points away for that. I mean, What were you thinking when you heard that? When you
I
heard him say Spy Master?
was thinking, I need to message Carwin and see if he's had any new subscribers go by the name of C. Chibnall or Chibbers or something. Because we're going to say this a couple of times talking about this series.
There's things going through. I mean, we're going to get to them, but there's things happening through this show that we were talking about last year and the year before. Well, last year, yeah. I mean, last year, particularly because we started off. We started off a lot later doing the live things than I thought. So we had to look back to the stream, didn't we? And It was kind of like it was just before series 11, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was either during or just after. I can't remember now. We did look a little while ago, but
yeah. But when you go through what we were talking about, I mean, we've had a whole year without Doctor Who that we went through, and we were talking about what we would do, and there are things that we're going to get to, and so we get around to Spyfall Part 2, whereby we've got these weird aliens that show up with these glowing bodies that we're not quite sure of. The reveal of Lenny Henry as being this evil character that is, you find out what he's trying to do, which is allow these things to conquer the universe. The Master then disappears into time. The Doctor kind of chases after him. They go to different periods in history. And this episode is not as strong as the first one. Spyfall Part 1.
There's some silly bits in it.
Yeah, Spyfall Part 1 is much stronger than Spyfall Part 2, I'm afraid. But we still don't have a big dip in the story quality. It's not great, but here's some problems that I have with Spyfall Part 2 in terms of what happens with the story. When we get the flow narrative of what's going on and the understanding of what's going on, the Doctor is standing right in front of the Master. And I've said before, you've got Sacha Dhawan playing the Master, and he has a good presence on screen, but he doesn't have physical intimidation. He can't do that. He's not that big of a person. And even though he's standing next to Jodie Whittaker, who's a smaller person than herself, you're still talking about the Doctor. You're still talking about the person that would go hand to hand as John Pertwee. You still got the person like in Peter Capaldi that decked that bloke for being racist. You know, it's the same person here. This person she's standing in front of a guy that just shot people with a tissue compressor, and is just standing there, just looking at him. And I'm just thinking to myself, hit him. You're the Doctor. Just punch him straight in the face right there. He's standing right, and this is a problem that happens throughout this season. By the way, this is one of those problems that it goes right the way to the finale as well. It's this, because even there's a point whereby they're standing on top of the Eiffel Tower, and the Master is just standing. I'm just thinking to myself, just elbow him in the ear. He's right there. Just you know, and it was, and I know that people say, oh, the Doctor doesn't like violence. Yeah, but the Doctor also doesn't like genocidal maniacs. And I just felt like, and the other thing that, and I don't want to get into sort of the gender issue of what's happening with the show as well, but there was a point whereby they were kind of hitting the aren't women great button, which is not necessarily a problem, but in Spyfall Part 2, they had 3 women in one scene from history. Like, they had the Doctor, you had the World War II woman, and you had the other woman that were hiding in the floorboards, right? And then the Doctor gets out and goes, oh, you were brilliant. And I'm just thinking, you don't have to be so heavy-handed with this. You know, there've always been brilliant women in Doctor Who. Always been. And I was reminded recently when we were watching things like the 7th Doctor with Ace. You know, even crap episodes with, I don't say crap episodes, but Silver Nemesis. It's not a brilliant. It's not what you would call your golden episode of Doctor Who. It's not your golden chalice, right? But even that episode shows Ace being this incredibly proactive arse kicker. You know, So you don't need to be telling people, oh, this person's wonderful, this person's brilliant. Let people see it for themselves. Show people, don't tell them. And I think that it's the way it's handled as opposed to what they handle it. But yeah, what's your thoughts on Spyfall Part 2?
Well, just to continue what you were saying there, to finish up with, I think the problem that we've got with this series and the previous series, to be honest, is we're kind of being spoon-fed what we should think about people. And I've got no problem at all with a female doctor. I don't care if there's gay people in the programs. I don't care if there's black people in the programs or any race denomination. I don't like this is what you must think. This is what you must think. And I found with the historical ladies that they used, great people as they were, as you say, we could have seen that rather than being spoon-fed it.
Yeah, show don't tell.
Yeah. I'll say one thing: the master did look good in a Nazi uniform. He carried that off really well.
That's what you call a juxtaposition, right?
Yeah.
You've got this Indian fella dressed as a Nazi. That's. But I mean, again, look, you see what you like with the Nazis; they had style. But yeah, it's a problem that's going to go forward with the rest of the series. That there's a little bit of men are evil in the show that we don't need. Like they did this with Supergirl, and it didn't work then. Like I remember Supergirl season 1 and Supergirl season 1 more than anything else was always aren't women brilliant, aren't men evil. And with Doctor Who now, it's kind of doing the same thing, and it's just like you can't do this to your fan base. You can't alienate your fan base in this way and expect people to keep watching. And but anyway, that's Spyfall Part 1 and Part 2. Not a bad opener, but it goes downhill Part 2. The reveal then that there's something going on with the Timeless Child. To keep that thing going from Series 11. Which we won't find out about later on in the show. But yeah, Spyfall Part 2 ends with the we don't find out what happens with these glowing white creatures. We really don't. They don't really serve that much of a purpose. They could have been a bit stronger. They could have done something a little bit more with those. But I think we'll talk about that after we get through the rest of the series. The next one on the list.
Hang on. The other thing I was going to mention, because I've just remembered, when I said about things being silly, I felt the bit with the notes left for Ryan and Graham in the airplane. I thought it was like a silly version of what the 10th Doctor did in Blink with the DVD and the video tapes. Yeah. And it came in that, it was kind of like, oh, hey, he's managed that. But in this one, it was kind of, well, that's bloody silly.
Wouldn't it be good? Wouldn't it be better if the screen on the wall just turned on and it was the Doctor talking?
Would have been even better if they'd have turned the screen on and it was Peter Davison or Tom Baker actually telling them what to do. How cool would that have been?
Time Flight. You could have booked it into Time Flight. But no, you could have. Wait a sec. Before we get any further to any more episodes, we have to cover one major thing with Doctor Who. The new interior of the TARDIS. Don't like it. I still don't like it. They've still got the dead spider. I'm glad they've got rid of the expanding foam and replaced it with that sort of digity box thing that they've got at the bottom of the things now. I don't like the fact that they've got rid of the Gallifreyan text from around the bottom and replaced it with the crystal. I understand why. They're trying to make the crystal tie more in but I don't like the crystals to begin with. So, and the set is far too dark. Like I said, it's pretty much a dark set. And if you were to describe the inside of Jodie Whittaker's TARDIS, it would be dark orange glow. Because you can't see the console; it's just an orange glowing lump in the middle. And they've introduced these new steps, which they don't use. There's a doorway in the TARDIS room that they don't go through, and there's steps leading up to it that they don't stand on. They sit on it from now and again.
I'll tell you what, if I'd have been one of the companions, and like as we saw at the beginning of the first part of Spyfall, they were doing a catch-up and roundup. I think if I was one of them, the first time I went on the TARDIS, I would have come and said, shit, are we still on low power? Because it looks like it's on emergency lighting, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's not great. Again, I don't like the design. I understand why they haven't got rid of it, because they spent a lot of money on it. But it's just a lot of what you're looking at is a lot of blue lights and a lot of orange glowing shit. And you can't make out the console. The console is just this glowing orange lump. It's not good for TV, man. It's just not. And those they've still got the dead spider, so that's not much good. I bloody hate that. That takes up way too much space as well. It just fills up. It makes this. And bear in mind, like, this is a 40-foot in diameter set. It doesn't look 40-foot because there's no room to walk around. So I would have just got rid of those. Just got rid of them. But
well, I can make their TARDIS interior out of a vape tank and a hand.
But I mean, I wish they did something a little bit different to that. So
yeah, I don't like the spider legs either, mate. I think they're kind of too bulky. They take up too much space.
Yeah, I mean, again, it doesn't look good with the interior either, because again, the interior is just dark. It's just this dark. It looks dank. It looks like you're in some sort of underground cave, as opposed to being in a flight deck of a spaceship. So for me, I've never liked it, and I think the improvements that they've made are a step up a little, but I think that they need to go a little bit further with. I would say you could probably get away with a bit more lighting. That would make a hell of a lot of an improvement to the set more than anything else. I think the lighting is a huge part of, because it's great that they created an atmosphere, but when you've got so much atmosphere you can't see anything, that's not good. But anyway, so that's the TARDIS interior covered, but that's for the series. So
well, we can talk more. We can talk more about TARDISes later. Oh, while I remember, don't need to watch the clock tonight. I spoke to my boss earlier. I'm on 14 days isolation because my boy's not well. So I haven't got to get up early for work. Oh, I feel I'm fine, by the way. But
yeah, I do. I've been in isolation. Yeah, I've been in isolation. I'm off isolation now.
Oh, that sucks. Unlucky.
Yeah. So let's move on to episode 3, series 12, Orphan 55. Yeah, Orphan 55. So let's get into this. This episode could be described as one of the best episodes of Doctor Who ever made. Unfortunately, it's one of the worst. This episode could have been saved in the last act. The last act of this show could have saved it all, and it could have made it. It could have sent it in that direction. But it didn't. It walked out that door, but they didn't open the door first. It just walked straight into the glass. I don't know what to say. This was a base invasion, Half-Life level. This was an Unreal Tournament sort of stuff without the excitement. And when we got to the final reveal of what the hell was going on, they had an opportunity to do something that they haven't done and I genuinely thought it was going to. They had an opportunity to do something that they haven't done in Modern Who, which is to do a follow-up story to a classic Who episode. And I thought that's where the story was going. And what went wrong was literally in the final half of this episode. Because I thought the relationship between Ryan and the girl that he met at the hotel was brilliant. I thought there was a lot of charisma and chemistry going on between those two. I I think a lot of people have issue with the AOPs in the episode, mainly for their acting or lack thereof, which I think is a bit harsh considering these are veteran old actors. But that's neither. You can only do so many takes when they're only on set for so long.
Well, I mean, the lady only really had one line, didn't she? So
Yeah.
you can only work with what they're given.
Yeah. So there's that. Again, we've got this whole. We've got a woman in the story, therefore she must be Sarah Connor. And I'm like, you're not doing these characters any favor by making every single one of them Rambo. Even John Rambo broke down in tears. Just remember that. The final scene in First Blood is John Rambo with an arm around his shoulder with him crying.
Yeah.
So just remember, if you are going to make these characters, give them some depth, give them some range, give them more than just aren't we tough as balls.
So I'll tell you what's interesting there is for me listening to you talk there is Sylvester Stallone isn't known for his superb acting chops. I mean, I love his films, but we're using a Sylvester Stallone character. All right, it's the guy that wrote the stories character, but we're using him as an 80s action star as a measure of depth of acting. That goes to show you how shallow this season is on actors.
I mean, look, what can you say? Like, I mean, but it's I think it's a good example, though.
It is a good example.
And I would say, like, if you're gonna make these characters whereby these characters are super tough, you've got to make them realistically tough.
Yeah.
In other words, you can't have, because you've got to remember, right? You've got, and I'm going to say something which might sound like I'm being a bit of a sexist misogynist, right? But I hate to break it to you. If you've got somebody that you are selling as being a really tough woman, as being a really tough Sarah Connor type character, or a Ripley, you've got this sort of character, you have to remember that if you're going to put this person and sell them realistically, that you need to give them something a little bit more than just pep. That these characters, because I don't give a toss how tough Ronda Rousey is. If you took Ronda Rousey and you put her in this octagon with Daniel Cormier, forget the ambulance, call the morgue. Because she's going to be killed. I'm not saying anything. Look, she could kick my ass. She could probably kick your ass as well. She could probably kick all our asses. But if you're talking about somebody who's seriously tough, and then you put them in the cage with somebody who is built like Daniel Cormier or something like that, they're going to get wiped out. And my point here is the fact that if you're going to sell these characters, these heroic, tough women, and you want to sell them that way, you need to do something whereby they knock the biggest person in the room on their ass. You need to be able to, because what made Sarah Connor tough wasn't the fact that she was able to beat people up. That didn't make her the tougher. What made Sarah Connor tough was the fact that she was able to take punishment and just ignore it, even at the cost of her own life. She was able to just F you. She's been shot. She was stabbed. She was stabbed through the shoulder. The T-1000 was about to poke her through the brain with his finger, and he told him to F off. I mean, that's that's a different level of. Do you know what I mean? It's not that she was beating him up. She couldn't beat him in a fist fight. Not a chance.
I think the trouble is what they're doing is perhaps they have had a look back at what people have done in the past. But instead of characters like Sarah Connor and Ripley, like characters that can think on their feet, can say "F you" and can hold their own, I think they're trying too much to make Vasquez characters, which is just I'm hard. I'm going to carry a gun. I mean, we didn't get to see her really carry on.
Well, you use the thing, right? You use where it went wrong. They thought they were making Ripley from Aliens, where she's in the mech suit.
Yeah.
The mech lifter, and they're doing the whole "get away from her, you bitch." But actually, what they made was Ripley from the last Alien film, where she's got superpowers and she can throw a basketball into a hoop from 60 feet away, and it's wrong, and that's why that didn't work. Do you know what I mean? There's a massive, huge difference in how, and it's not what you're presenting, it's how you present it. And again, it's a case of show don't tell. So having these characters be like, oh, she's done this, that's great. Show me her dealing with something that's out of her league. And that's what it comes down to. You need to show these characters dealing with something, because again, that's what makes a good hero, is the fact that they're dealing with something that is way above their bar. And that goes for any hero, not male, not female, any hero. An awful 55, unfortunately, for me, here's the problem. I genuinely thought, and this is where I think the show fell on its arse and where it could have been saved. The moment she realizes that they're in a subway station in, I think it's Ukraine.
Yeah, I think it was. It was Russian of some sort.
Yeah. The second that happened, my brain instantly went to Mysterious Planet, the Sixth Doctor story, where they arrive on Earth and they don't know what's going on. Everybody's sort of tribalized. The planet's been ravaged. Everything's destroyed. All the major cities are gone, and these people are now reduced to. We get introduced to Sebulon Glitz and Tiba, and it's in this story whereby they've got this like force field and things set up on the planet, and these towers and things, and the Sixth Doctor's trying to work out what's going on. And he's in the underground, and he comes across a sign which says Marble Arch, and that's how he works it. And they took it from Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
But it was exactly how they met. It happened to the Doctor once before. So when it's happened again, I'm thinking to myself, "Holy crap! They're tying it into Mysterious Planet." And I'm pretty sure any classic Doctor Who fan would have watched that and thought exactly the same thing. And then when instead of it dealing with where's the planet gone now and how has it improved or how has it got worse and what's gone on, the episode pretty much ends right there. And then we get what a lot of people have guessed to call it Doctor Lecture, where we get this whole thing about pollution and you have to use a shopping bag for life and all this. I mean, it's the worst part about it is this lecture. Like I was in the shop a couple of weeks ago, and I literally said to the person behind the till, because I get my shopping now in boxes. They keep cardboard boxes at the end of the till, and I put all my stuff. I don't get a bag anymore. And I thought to myself, why the hell am I getting a box? Because everything I bought is wrapped in plastic. Like they come in plastic trays, plastic tubs, plastic this, and then we are getting lectured on it. It's like you're lecturing the wrong people. If you're going to lecture people, you need to be lecturing the people in charge, not the people watching the show. And you shouldn't be lecturing people on wasteful plastic when you've got a whole 40-foot set over TARDIS over there, which is made entirely of glass and acrylic, and you're in the wrong position to be saying, don't be wasteful. And really, that's really where, for me, that's where the show just fell off the cliff. It's literally, I mean, the ending wrapped up pretty quick, and it was a bit convenient with her having all those bombs and wanting to blow the place up. And I'm like, really? She's the cure to this, and she turns out that she's the mother, and this is about her relationship, and this fell apart really, really quick. What do you think of Awful?
Yeah, no, it was a mess. I find things like that. They made it too non-obvious that it was a mother and daughter thing. There was no wonder beforehand. It was like, bang, there you go. It's like, okay. And at the end,
she didn't know it was a daughter. What?
And
Yeah.
I was expecting Man at Arms and Orco to come out to tell me about my plastic bags.
Oh man.
It's just it. It started off as because
It was a base invasion story. It started
yeah,
off.
it was nice to see something that didn't look like Earth. Looked like they'd gone somewhere else other than a council estate or an office
Yeah.
block. So yeah, it was something new.
It turned out to be
Um,
Earth.
the the premise of the aliens, that were
Correct.
infecting the machines and that was good. That could have been Cybermats or anything to start with. So that led a bit of intrigue. They gave that poor old girl probably the worst few lines in history, just repeating about Benny all the time.
Yeah.
When in my experience, old people aren't like that at all. They can be, but they're not.
No.
Yeah, it's just and
Like it was great that they had the Doctor going after somebody to rescue somebody that was older, as opposed to just like he's old and they. But the problem is that this introduces a contradiction into the Doctor's character into the story and this happens later on. We'll get onto that when it happens later on. But she's willing to rescue. She was willing to rescue other people. She's willing to rescue this guy, and this guy's in his 80s, I guess. But yeah, this episode just quickly fell apart. The second we got these weird tacked on, like again, that girl just come up with, oh, she's my mother, and I'm here to blow the place up. And I was just like, that came out of nowhere. That should have been that could have been part of the story. That what you could have done is had two factions. One was the hotel and the security, and another faction being like the TARDIS had landed there because the place was being attacked by terrorists. And she could be one of the factions. It could have turned out that she was a daughter. But it just to actually just go, oh no, she's my mother, and I'm going to blow this place up because reasons was just oh god. But anyway, lowest episode I think that they've ever made of Doctor Who, and I hope the person who wrote this has learned their lesson and has taken up a job in McDonald's.
or at least been taken into a field and shot.
Well, no, I mean, like I don't want any harm to come to them, but a bit of
I was assuming it had been written by a horse. It was that bad.
Yeah. Oh god. So that's awful 55. Moving on to Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror. This was good.
Yeah, it was good.
This was good. This was. I was. Look, we still had the whole thing whereby they had to point out how great the woman was, which they did. Which was for me was like you have to stop with this shit. We understand. Like the Doctor could have just gone, oh you developed this theory on computing that still happens for years. Years down the in a couple of 100 years time, your theories are still good, like, and they could have left it at that. But no, the Doctor had to tell her, "You're good, you're brilliant, you're fantastic, aren't you amazing?" And she wasn't even a major part of the story. And I'm just like, okay, and I let that go. I let that kind of just pass, because then they had the whole thing with Tesla and Edison and their relationship, which was a good little bit. Because again, I think maybe they were demonizing Edison a bit too much with this. Like he was nobody's going to ever suggest that he was a nice guy. He was an opportunist, but I think that he was an opportunist trying to do the right thing. He was still, what do they call it? A capitalist. Very much a capitalist, or out for his own gain. And as proof of that, there's a place called Hollywood that now exists because of him. Because that's why Hollywood exists, just because they wanted to get away from New York, away from him. Because every time they kept making a film, he wanted to put the patent for cameras, for movie cameras. He wanted that so he could claim all the money, and people were like, no, piss off. And so he kept sending gangs of people around to beat them up and smash the equipment. And that's why they moved out to Hollywood. It was because let's get as far away from it as possible and keep doing it. And that's why Hollywood exists. Interesting side note, but has nothing to do with the episode, but yeah. Tesla was given this idea of being this genius. I think maybe they were kind of overselling Tesla a little bit. But I kind of do like the idea that he was working on inventions that were, because we're dealing with sci-fi, not just history here. He could have done. They've done it in other shows, like in Warehouse. What's it called? Warehouse 13, whereby they've had gadgets and things built by people from the past that are really clever inventions that, and they could have done the same thing with Tesla. They could have had the Tesla death ray that actually worked, but it was. Do you know what I mean? They could have done things like that. They could have stepped away from history a little bit. I think they were a little bit too trying to follow history a little bit too rigid with the story, and not you, because I mean, bear in mind we had these aliens come into it as well, which a lot of people have said are very similar to the Rachnos, and assuming that they're some sort of cousin species to the Rachnos, which I quite like the idea of that. I'm all for that. They were good looking as well, good looking creatures. The running away bit from those things was where it should have been edited a little bit better, because there were times where you could tell the effects guys had to add these things in as tripping up and falling over, because Yaz was running like she was carrying a desk. I mean, she couldn't move in that dress, and she just couldn't run. And there was no. These things were had 6 legs coming up behind, and then just having to fall into a wall or something, because they would catch her in an instant. But overall, a very enjoyable episode. Very enjoyable. What do you think of the episode with Nikola Tesla's Terra?
I think for this one, we're pretty much in agreement. I wasn't over keen on the overuse of the blatantly obvious CGI scorpion things. They were just scorpions, weren't they? But I do like the idea that they could be related to the Rachnos. I mean, spiders and scorpions ain't a million miles apart. No. I didn't mind that. Although I did find the actress playing the lead one did sound a bit like a Discovery Klingon, if memory serves me right. But no, it was fine. They got the actors fine. I agree with what you say about going a bit overboard on Thomas Edison. Mm-hmm. If there's one thing that the BBC does well, it's period piece. So the dressing of the set, the costumes, the makeup, and everything was pretty much flawless. Yeah. I haven't really got a lot of negative to say about it. I just weren't over keen on the CGI chase scene. It looked like a computer game.
Yeah, again, but there are things that they could have put into the show that I think they could have utilised. Like, for example, they did on Mythbusters, an episode of Mythbusters where they were using the sympathetic vibration machine, the earthquake machine, as they call it. And they could have used that and gone, well, no, but this won't work on this, but it'll work on a spaceship. You can put that onto to open up onto the engine of a spaceship, onto the reactor core, and it'll crack the reactor core. You know what I mean? They could have done something like that, whereby, and it would have been something of real world, something that Tesla definitely did, that they could use and put into a, you could have the doctor just saw it again, just go, just make it, give it a little bit of an improvement, and then great stuff. So that's Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror. Good episode. I'd probably. With 4 episodes in series 12, this was one of probably the best one so far.
Yeah, I agree. I really, really enjoyed it. I think they painted Tesla how I'd imagine him. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Now, the next episode, this threw the fan base a loop. This is called Fugitive of the Judoon, and we are introduced to the character of Ruth, and we're not quite sure what's going on. We know that Judoon have showed up, and much like they did with the introduction of Martha Jones. They shut off a town, they shut off an area. Instead of just kidnapping the hospital, they actually quarantined, which is ironic.
I need a
Quarantined
twig for this one.
Yeah. Quarantine Gloucester, which fair enough. Interesting character of Ruth. Was interesting when they were kind of pointed out what was going on with the companion. Especially what was happening with the guy in like the cafe as well. So we get reintroduced to the Judoon. Let's cut to the chase. Revealed at the end, she breaks the fire alarm in the lighthouse, and it's revealed that Ruth is in fact the Doctor. And out by the gravestone is a blue police box buried in the ground. And this was interesting. It kind of threw a lot of things up in the air. It didn't really let anything land. The episode ended before anything could really touch home. First thing I'll say, how good did the Judoon look? Like,
they were proper animatronic, weren't they?
They were absolutely beautiful. I mean, if you go back and look at them in the original episode and the subsequent episodes where they're part of the Shadow Proclamation, they look good, but these looked good. These looked fantastic. And the lip movements were great on them as well. Everything about them was good. I like the attitude with them.
While we're talking of Judoon, did you notice in any of the credits or anything the character name for the lead Judoon?
No.
The character's name was Paul Condon. And he used to be the police commissioner of the Met, Sir Paul Condon. That just made me laugh when it went up in the credits end. I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, because everybody used to laugh when his name came on the news. but yeah, I thought the Judoon looked great. I'm not sure what the solve of this story or what this story was really about. I did enjoy it. I mean, it went at a good pace. I like the no shit attitude with the Judoon, whereby the guy in the shop was giving him a bit of lip, so they just killed him.
Yeah,
they literally just obliterated him. And the woman standing off in the by outside the cathedral. So that was good as well. The thing going on with Ruth, then she's having these things come back, and it's like, oh, something's going on. They go to this lighthouse. I found it a little bit weird having them go such a long way out of the way for Gloucester to go to this lighthouse, because it seemed like you'd think that the Doctor would have parked the TARDIS somewhere a bit more central. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But she breaks it. The energy goes back into her. She realizes who she is. She comes out in her outfit. Why she felt the need to get changed, I don't know. It's a bit weird. But she's introduced herself and she says, "Hello, I'm the Doctor." And there's a bit of a look on the Doctor's face. She does a scan. She confirms that it is the same person, the same brain, the same DNA. And then we get to see Ruth Doctor's TARDIS interior. And I'm in love.
Beautiful.
I am absolutely in love. Look, my favourite TARDIS interior is probably Hartnell's. I think they've done the best TARDIS interior, probably. I'm going to change my mind. They've done the best, almost the best TARDIS interior with Twice Upon a Time, whereby they rebuilt the original TARDIS but give it a bit more of a modern look. They were faithful, but they didn't have like the painted roundels on the back. They actually had the hexagon ones instead with the round circle in the middle. in the 3D relief. So that was nice. But when we saw this TARDIS, if we remove the fact that this TARDIS was a temporary set, so it was quite small. If it was a little bit bigger, this would now be my number one TARDIS for the TARDIS interior. And I mean, like, that's above Peter Capaldi's TARDIS, and I hold that thing to a high standard. So, oh my God, where are you with this?
Well, I think I'm part of the fan base that was annoyed by it, really. I mean, I enjoyed the episode. It was good pacing, and I enjoyed it at the time. But it was one of them ones where I thought back, I was like, hang on, that shouldn't have been a police box.
We'll get around to that. That's something we'll get around to that. Don't you worry about that. We will get to that. But what did you think of the TARDIS interior of Joe Martin as the Doctor? Then this episode before, because we didn't know where in the timeline this Doctor came from.
No, we didn't.
It was obviously early on, judging by the console and everything, but we didn't know where.
I mean, like you say, getting changed was a bit of an odd thing to do, but I did.
I was like, what?
but she did look good. She was very reminiscent of Colin Baker's colours, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
The TARDIS interior was something else. I mean, my favourite one, my favourite TARDIS interior is Circa the Five Doctors, because that's the one I remember most. And I
love the 25th anniversary. Yeah, I love the 25th anniversary console room. But this one,
that is this one's absolutely beautiful. It's well lit, as you say. It's been built properly. Could do with being a bit bigger. The episode itself was fine. I would have preferred it, or that would have ruined the rest of the series. Spoilers. I would have preferred it if she was a different Time Lord, but that's because I don't like things being too messed about with.
Yeah, well, we'll get around to that. But as for what you're saying there, with this episode, I felt that again it threw a lot of things up in the air in the story, but I couldn't really tell you what this story was actually about. Like it was throwing a lot of questions out there. Why are the Judoon here? Who are they after? All this sort of stuff. So it was throwing them, but we weren't catching them. And we get to the end of this episode, and basically we find out that the Doctor Ruth Doctor has been on the run from the Judoon, and that's pretty much been the entire episode.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's from what I could tell, by the time we got to the end of series 12, it looks like they've written the end and thought, how are we going to fit this in? I know. Let's chuck a story back halfway through the series, and we'll work it that way. I mean, I won't lie. It's cleverly done. It's well written. I'm just not a fan of things being messed around with like that too much.
Well, we can come back. We can come back to that. But overall, this episode, I felt this episode was actually doing some world building. Yeah. In terms of Doctor Who, I felt that this episode was having a real good attempt at doing some world building for elements that they could pull back on later on, and we hadn't seen that from Series 11 at all. In fact, the most we got from Series 10. In fact, I like Series 10, but the most we got from Series 10 was the boss in the vault. So the fact that this episode made a conscious effort to throw threads in there. Again, a lot of the threads were just left hanging at the end of this episode, but at least they were out there. At least the threads were there.
Yeah.
And I felt there was a real good attempt at building, the story and building character. And talking of that, how good was Joe Martin as Ruth, as the Doctor?
Yeah.
I mean, she nailed it. She nailed it in tone. I liked the delivery. There's no more we can say about that.
In fact, I mean, I know enough people cried when they sex changed the Doctor female, and I'm sure there would have been a even bigger arsehole contingent moan if they'd have made the Doctor black. But when I watched that episode, I was kind of thinking, I wish they'd made her the Doctor instead.
Yeah. No, I mean, we can talk about that again. That's something else to bring up. So that's Fugitive of the Dune. The next one is Praxeus. This one landed me in a lot of hot water with a certain community.
Yes, I read it all.
And all for grabbing the wrong end of the stick because you can't fit everything you need to say in a 240 character tweet. But I think a lot of people thought I was really angry with this episode, whereby it was more like I was disappointed. Like I did say, tell the show to F off, but it wasn't like off. It was more like off. It was more of that. And this episode, the second this episode started, the very opening scene just made me go, it's one of those. And so we get this opening scene where these girls are backpacking and they come across this lovely, beautiful open area, and they come through this bush, and the camera turns around to see the shock on their face, and then it's revealed that this beautiful landscape had been decimated with plastic and rubbish. And I thought, there we go. And I wasn't disappointed. There are characters introduced in this episode which serve no purpose. There are characters in this episode which I guess it's just kind of good that one of the characters gets the wrong end of the stick. I like the fact that they don't stay in one place, that they bounce around a lot in this episode. I just feel like this was just another follow-up lecture episode, though. And I think that this episode could have done. You didn't have. They could have set this on another planet. They could have told a similar story, and it would have landed better with the fans. Because once again, it was an episode going, you're the fault, you're the problem, you. And people know that there's a problem with pollution. We know there's a problem. I'm doing recycling, for crying out loud. We're all doing it. It's mandatory. We know that this is happening. You don't need to lecture people on it. And again, we aren't the ones making the plastic. The government is doing that. You're lecturing the wrong people. So, we've also got this arbitrary story of this astronaut thrown into this episode. And I didn't like the story at all. And I think people have got it the wrong way. Because I put out a tweet about this and I said, I think my exact words were, I don't enjoy a Doctor Who episode where I'm being lectured to or being told explicitly someone's sexual preference. And a lot of people jumped on that thinking that I was being homophobic. I don't know why. I didn't mention homosexuals at all. I don't like, and if you go back and watch previous Doctor Who's, I don't like the Rose relationship with the Doctor. I don't like the smooching in the TARDIS. I think the only reason why the River Song Doctor relationship works is because it's based on a friendship. That there's no, it's much more of a platonic love with River Song and the Doctor, which works, and it's done over, 5 seasons?
Yeah, and also hers is she loves him from the future, and he hasn't got a bloody clue who she is. So
yeah, but it's, that's what I mean. There's a distant. It's just not. There's no thing. But that's the only reason why I think that works. But even I don't like smooching. And here's the thing: if I had a problem with someone's sexuality in Doctor Who, then how come I don't have a problem with John Barrowman?
Well, yeah, or Pearl Mackie. You know what I mean? Both characters.
But what you don't need is to have, because here's what I think is the problem here. I don't like tokenism. I don't like something being put there for the express purpose of that being it.
Yeah, no, I
Its
totally
only
agree.
its only reason is to be here. It's and we mentioned this before, right? But what this is black friend at a party. You know how people used to draw on that all the time, whereby you'd have this one black person that was the one black friend in the group, and what this is exactly that. But they're trying to pull the wool over people's eyes and pretend it's not. And what happened in this episode, but in particular, was they had this astronaut and they had this detective, and the only reason to be in this episode was to be gay. And if you're gonna write gay characters into a show, just write characters into a show. They're gay, okay, great, but give them something, not just I'm writing them in because we can show everybody representation. And I mean, here's my other problem with this, right? And we might get a touch on this a bit later. Doctor Who has this new sound bite where it's saying Doctor Who is inclusive. Everybody's inclusive into Doctor Who, right? The problem with this is that they're talking about diversity, they're talking about the LGBTQ community, they're talking about all this, they're all inclusive. Doctor Who never used to be inclusive. Doctor Who used to be indifferent. It didn't care what you were. It simply had no. It didn't care if you were gay, straight, bisexual. It didn't care if you were Asian, Indian, black. It didn't care. It was indifferent. As long as it told that story, it chose that story to tell, and it would have told it. And we're talking like with recent Doctor Who's, we're talking David Tennant era. We're not talking like Doctor Who from the 60s or the 70s. I mean, but that is true, but also the case. But we're talking like recent times as well. But what's happening now is that it's made this whole sound bite that it can put out there and say, oh well, we're diverse casting for representation, so people can see themselves represented on the screen. I've seen myself represented in characters before that aren't white or male. That's not how character representation isn't a skin color. They literally going, look, judge the book by its cover. Judge the book by its cover. And I'm going, no, I'm not doing that. I want more than that. I can look at a person's character rather than look at the person's. I mean, it's just they're doing something whereby I've got to be honest, right? And we'll go on to a different thing right now, but I want to talk about just briefly about how another sci-fi would have handled it completely differently and did from the 60s, and it's called Star Trek. Yeah. Whereby you have an entire cast of completely diverse group that you have black people, Asian people, the whole lot, and it didn't. Again, it's indifferent. Star Trek was indifferent, and that's what I'm on about. It's not inclusive. It just doesn't care. She's black. I don't care. He's Asian. I don't care. Are they good people? That's what matters. And the Doctor Who has missed that point by a mile. Just an absolute mile. It doesn't matter if you've cast the right person for the part, and you've cast, and you're not drawing attention to it, and you're not, trying to make it a thing. Here's a good one. What was it, Pyramid of the End of the World?
Yeah.
Remember they cast what's her name? I can't remember her name. Oh god, the midget. I don't know if that's the right term to use. I don't know PC, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
She's like 3'8" or something like that. She is. She's working as a scientist in the episode. They cast her, but they weren't drawing attention to the fact that she's, in the same way that they did with what's his name from Game of Thrones.
Peter Dinklage?
Yeah, Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage, amazing actor. Now, in the show, they do, but the bastards in the show draw attention to it. but it's not a thing for him. It's not a, it's not a, it's a gripe with his character, but he doesn't live day to day like that. Do you know what I mean? It's not a sticking point then.
No.
He's an intelligent leadership character that's smart and bright and all this stuff, and he has so many other facets to him, not just he's short. And I think that with what they've done with Doctor Who right now is that they are doing this whole thing whereby this person's being cast because of this, as opposed to we cast this person because they're good. And I find that to be a massive, massive, huge sticking point. That's a separate gripe. This episode, Praxius, again, a lecture episode. It could have been a lot better than it was. They'd set it on a different planet, different same circumstances or similar circumstances. We would have got the message without being punched in the nose with it. I know that was a bit of a rant. I'm very sorry about that, Chris. But what do you think?
Well, firstly, I normally go out of my way to make you rant because I think the Welsh accent. Oh no, I'm typecasting, but I don't care.
Yeah,
that's the point. But yeah, no, I normally go out of my way to make you rant because I find it amusing. As you saw yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a preachy episode. There was bits in it that annoyed me. There was no real the detective fella, the Robert Downey Jr. lookalike. I don't know the actor's name. Him getting between England and was it Hong Kong he went to?
Yep.
Yeah. There was no. All of a sudden he was in Hong Kong.
There was no flight over.
I'm on my way, and then he was there by that door, and they turned up.
And as somebody who's made that flight more than a few times, I can assure you, it takes a day.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've never been there, but I know from what you've said that in the past that it's not just a short hop.
No, and I will say this: they for Cardiff, I have seen many people try to replicate Hong Kong, and I thought Doctor Who done a really good job of it. And I'm comparing that to like Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange tried to do Hong Kong, and it done pretty well. It sort of did it, but considering that they shot in Cardiff, and I've said before, Hong Kong is Cardiff just in 200 years' time. So it's they done a real damn good job of making Hong Kong in Cardiff. But yeah, sorry, I'm going to go off. But yeah, the detective shows up in Hong Kong.
Yeah, that seemed to happen a bit too quick.
Here's the thing, though. I'll say this. With that story, I think I told you this before. You could take the astronaut and the detective out of the story, and it doesn't change the story because Yaz and Graham are still going to Hong Kong anyway.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. They could have found a alien computer system like they did, rather than finding the astronaut.
Yeah.
But the astronaut was in it. Now, I know there weren't a lot of chemistry between the two actors, but at the time of watching it, I kind of wrote that off as the astronaut was ill. So I kind of let that slide. That didn't really bother me as much as it gave you the hump.
It's not that, right. So it's not that the relationship. It's not the fact that the relationship was in the show. It's the fact that they weren't there for any other reason. Yeah.
No, I agree. I can. It weren't until we spoke about it afterwards that I thought, he's right. They're like, it's like they've just brought on two token gays and decided
exactly.
And you're totally right. I've got no problem whether someone's gay or not, because the reason I've got no problem is I don't go ask them. I don't walk down the street thinking he's gay.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who anyone is, as long as they're a good person. Who cares?
Exactly.
There's too much highlighting of it. So that was It didn't
No,
bother
it's
me.
not. It's not just a highlighting of somebody being gay. There's too much of he's in a relationship with her, or she's in a relationship with her, and he's in a relationship with him, or they're in a relationship together, or there's no. Because I don't have a problem. I didn't have a problem with Madame Bastra and Jenny. They're because we didn't. It wasn't forcefully pressed on us. You know, they were lesbian. They were a lesbian couple, but it wasn't forced on us all the time. It wasn't look how gay these people are. So I don't have a problem. I don't like the fact that they keep hammering into relationships into this show when it's a show about bloody space invaders. I don't know. I don't know where to go with that. I don't. If I wanted EastEnders, I'd watch EastEnders. And that's pretty much all I can really say. Anyway, Praxeus for me, after the Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror and the Fugitive of the Jadoon, this for me was a step down. This went from it was going there, it went up, it went across, and then went poof, down for this episode. Where do you find this episode, man?
Oh, it was definitely a step down. I mean, there was things I liked about it. I liked proactive Yaz actually giving actually giving Mendip some work to do.
I had totally forgotten she was in the episode. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm glad you drew attention to that because I would have forgotten. Because that's how much of a mark Yaz has made on Doctor Who's companionship. I had forgotten she was in there. You're right. She was more proactive. She stepped up. She stepped through that gate doorway. She actually got to do a bit. She did a bit in Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror as well. But I think she was overshadowed in that. And I think we'll talk about Yaz later. But anyway, yeah, that's Praxeus, I think.
The only other things I'd add to that is I quite like the special effect of people plasticizing, I suppose. And I didn't like the effect of the birds flying around because where I live, we get starlings that fly around all the time. And that really didn't look like birds flying around.
It looked like a particle system. Yeah, it looked like a particle system. Step down episode. So the next episode now is Can You Hear Me? Yes, I can. This episode was an episode I felt was another missed opportunity. Yeah. I was liking this episode a lot at the beginning. I was liking it a lot halfway through when we started getting some of the reveals. And then we got to the resolve, and I just felt like it wasn't bad, it wasn't good. It kind of just was. It could have been so much more. And the fault with this episode was the fact that here's a character, a weird character, who had these disconnecting fingers that would go into people's ears.
Creepy as bollocks, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, it was a weird character, dressed in black. Nice tattooing and stuff like that. There's a lovely little moment in this where they reference the Eternals and the Guardian. And I mean, for us recently as well, we watched the Eternals and the Guardians with Enlightenment. Yeah. And so that was a beautiful callback. I mean, absolutely beautiful. Then we got these two planets that are holding a person prisoner, and the Doctor has to release them because the Eternal can't do it. They can release the Doctor and imprisons him again. End of the episode. That's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, it is, but it's just the way you phrased it.
But that's what happened. So this should have been a two-parter. Yeah,
it should have been. There should have been the bit where the the girl comes out and all of a sudden like, no, actually I'm bad and I'm worse than him. That should have been Sting credits to be continued.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we not only should this have been a two-part, and this was probably derogatory for the show being only 10 episodes per season, whereas if the show was 13 episodes, this could have been a two-parter, and we could have had a better episode. Not only that, but the start of this episode is set in Syria, right? If I remember rightly, it is set in Syria, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And yet the woman playing the lead actor, and I know they've done this before, right? And but they've done it. They want to do representation in the show. They want to get a Syrian actor for sake. Like if you're gonna preach to people about gays and lesbians and queers and trans and all that sort of stuff, if you want to do all that and we got this person in the show, they're black, they're Asian, all that, you're gonna do all that. When you've got the opportunity to be in a foreign country, don't give somebody who's supposed to be a Syrian an East London accent. Like it boggles the mind what you would do. I mean, and again, this episode here was an opportunity to do a real. They could have drawn back on the guard. They mentioned the Eternals. They mentioned the Guardians. There's no reason why this guy couldn't have been an Eternal. There's no reason why not. And and then you could have brought in, because it wouldn't have hurt me at all if this guy had gone, we've met before, Doctor. I'm the Black Guardian. You know, I wouldn't have written it that way, but you know what I mean. But if he had turned out to be the Black Guardian, I would have been like, especially if the person trapped in the thing would have been the White Guardian. Imagine that. Imagine that. Because now the Doctor would be like, oh, no, we're not starting this shit again. You know, you two went to war, you nearly wiped up the bloody cosmos. We're not doing this again. I don't care which one of you is in that prison. You're going in that prison. One of you is not. And they could have done that with the story, and it could have been a 2-story episode whereby, but as it was, they got to the end of the episode and the Doctor said, haha, fooled you. And that was it. And it wasn't even a clever resolve either. It wasn't even a clever. So there's so much to like about this episode, and I was trying to tackle a serious subject of mental health problems. But if you want a Doctor Who episode that talks about mental health problems in a good way, and handles it a lot better, the Vincent and the Doctor. I mean, as a comparable episode here, Vincent and the Doctor so much better. This episode, it was trying to do stuff. It just wrapped up so quickly. It was just hit and run. Just really.
Anyway, they had to wrap it up quickly, didn't they? Because they had their.
It could have been a 2-part.
They had their public information film at the end to put out about mental health.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Talking about mental health and raising the issue is a good thing. And I thought the thing with Yaz and the 50p, I thought that was really well handled. I had no problem with that at all. Nice to see Yaz doing something again. But that
once again, I forgot.
Better at the end of a 2-parter. Yeah, you forgot her again.
Again, let's talk about the worst part of this. Graham talking to the Doctor at the end.
Yeah, she should have had something a bit better to say then. I don't know.
Holy shit. Just holy shit. I didn't know. I was expecting the Doctor to just say, look, I'm always going to be here for you.
That's all it needed.
That's all it needed. Nothing spectacular, nothing special. Because that's anytime somebody is talking with mental health issues, what they really want, as far as I'm concerned anyway, is to know that there's somebody there for them. That's all a lot of people want. Never mind people with mental health problems. I'm talking about to know that somebody's there to listen, that somebody's there that could help, or even if they couldn't help, that they might be able to know somebody who could. To have somebody there that is just there to be there, and this was just, I think a lot of fans started to go, no, because I know a lot of fans drew issue with that part. More than I think more than any other part of the show so far. Like, there'd have been other issues throughout the series 12, but this particular end to this episode really, like, just the Doctor just left Graham hanging, and he was just like, oh. And given it what you just said about what with Yaz and the 50p and her talking to the copper, I mean, that was handled really, really well, and it was showing that, exactly what I was saying, that Yaz had somebody that was willing to talk to her and willing to listen to her, and then you had the total antithesis of that with the Graham and the Doctor, and it was just like, really? That's what you're gonna do? Leave him with Doc? I didn't like that at all. This episode,
Well,
better
I
than
couldn't work
practice.
out without ending. I couldn't work out. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to blame Jodie Whittaker because she's not the scriptwriter, but
No,
you would have thought even she would have said, "Are you sure about this?" Because
there's so many issues that you can imagine that they're sitting down through the read through, and I'm going to be honest with you. I think a lot of the people that are sitting down in these read throughs, when they have these scripts, I think they just want to play the part. I don't think they really know what it is that they're into. I think there are lots of people that get into the show because they're fans of the show, particularly when it was, the Peter Davison era, Peter Capaldi era, and Matt Smith era as well. So people that were getting into the show, like Olivia Colman and other people like that, they wanted to be there. And I think people want to be there now for a different reason, because it's a big show. And I don't think people wanted to be in it because it was a big show before. And I think that I'm not saying that they're doing it for the wrong reasons, because everybody's doing it for the same reasons, and it's money. At the end of the day, that's all it is. Whether they're doing it because they love it or whatever, they're doing it for the money. Because if they didn't get the money, they wouldn't do it. And that goes for every single actor out there. Nobody's unique in that situation.
yeah.
So yeah, there's that to it, but I think that I feel that what you said is right. Somebody should have perked up and gone, that doesn't work. That just doesn't work. We've just read that out loud here at this table, and that doesn't work.
I mean, even if the doctor had said something a bit harsher, like, you've survived cancer, you've lost your wife, but I'm always here for you. Job done.
At least there's something. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be this big, huge, broad, Zygon inversion speech.
Yeah.
It just has to be like, a nudge there and go, come on, I'm always here. That's all it's got to be. It's just got to be an upward spiral of hope that says, I got you. And that's it. That's all. It doesn't have to be anything more than that. So that was Can You Cure Me? And again, a missed opportunity of an episode. Should have been a two-parter. They could have explored a lot more, gone with a lot more depth and range. They could have chosen a single character like Yaz or somebody to actually have explored a bit further. So yeah, missed opportunity. The next one, how do you pronounce that? The Haunting of Villa Diodati?
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. So they bump into Mary Shelley. I quite liked it. I quite liked it. I didn't have. I thought I was going to hate this a lot more than I actually did, because I quite enjoyed it. I thought that the house being a perception filtered house, whereby the hauntings going on, was quite interesting. Where it was more like people were getting lost in a maze of their own making. That the strange things going on weren't that strange when it was revealed, which was great. But the absolute icing on the cake for this episode, for me, was the woman and the little girl ghost.
Yeah.
They done it. For me, when that episode ended, they put a smile on my face. When Graham said to the doctor, "But what about those two?" I was like, what are you on about? They had nothing to do with we talk about. They had nothing to do with anything. It's like, oh, maybe they are ghosts. Oh no. And it's like, no, they are ghosts. Like, it's like, oh yes. Yes. More of this, please. I like my Doctor Who to have a bit of supernatural to it. It's always had supernatural to it. It's always had, like I mentioned earlier, Silver Nemesis, where Madam Peyton sort of used magic to get herself into the future. With what was the guy's name? You know the guy, man, the one with the moustache, the blonde guy.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
The one with the bow and arrow. But yeah, so magic has always been a part of Doctor Who. There's no reason why you can't introduce these more supernatural elements. And I really do like supernatural elements that show up that are part of science fiction that you can write in and just go, no, it's because of magic. It's because of ghosts. It's because you can do that. Not everything has to be, it's alien. So that really, what a moment. I loved it. We get introduced to the lone cyber. By the way, we forgot in Fugitive of the Jadun, a certain somebody comes back to Doctor Who for a minute or so. A certain somebody by the name of Captain Jack Harkness. And how good was it seeing him back?
It was good, and how good was Bradley Walsh's screen kiss with him?
Oh man,
that played
amazing.
So well.
Amazing. Again, not a problem. Not a problem with homosexuality when it's handled like that, because John Barrowman doesn't play this over-sexualized character in a way of, oh, this is what this person is. He plays it in a way of, I don't care, I'm just going to kiss you. You know, and his excitement of the Doctor, of the Doctor's not a man, the Doctor's a woman. Oh, this I've got to see. This entire excitement is his thrill at, I mean, they've got to bring Captain Jack back next season. They've got to.
I'm just thinking of people that are watching the 15 minutes ago of this going, they didn't mention Captain Jack.
I know. Yeah.
But, surprise.
Yeah. So, and his warning of the lone Cyberman. Now, I want to keep this in mind for later on, because I'm going to mention the lone Cyberman again, right? But so we finally get to see the lone Cyberman, and he is a battle damaged Cyberman. Half his face is missing. I won't mention too much about that. I liked the ghost story with Mary Shelley. I liked the fact that they had all the location correct, the house correct, the people that were there correct. I liked all that. They didn't mention Shelley himself, the guy who wrote Ozymandias, which is a bit of a shame. But I didn't mind it because we were still dealing with the woman who, Shelley had something to do with the writing of Frankenstein as well. But it's just generally credited as being Mary Shelley's novel. People don't really know how much input her husband had with this, with the story. So, but she's generally given it as being. She's wrote many other things as well, but obviously that's probably her biggest, most well-known creation. There's lots not to put a downer on this. I felt like some of the plot devices that they put in there were a little convenient in terms of what was happening with the house. When it was like, oh, right, so here it is, this perception film, but there was no physical. It was like he's controlling this with his mind. And I'm thinking to myself, you need to put something in it, just a crystal or something in there that you can say, oh no, this because he's tied into the, or he's got a probe stuck on the side of his head or something, just to allow, because he could like see through the hologram. He could see through the thing. But overall, and to get it, I want to come back to the Lone Sideman again, but this sets the character up in a good way. And I thought at the end of this episode, I was quite fulfilled. I was quite happy with the end of this. What are your thoughts?
This was my favourite episode of the series. Absolutely brilliant because it was mysterious.
Yep.
I quite like the fact they didn't explain about the perception filter properly and what he was doing with it. The two ghosts at the end. The reason I like this so much is if you'd have removed the Doctor and the TARDIS crew and put Joanna Lumley and David McCallum in as Sapphire and Steel, it would have made a great Sapphire and Steel story. All them the different rooms moving around and then not being able to get through and hearing each other from the walls. That was like classic late 70s, early 80s horror primetime telly. Would have been a brilliant Sapphire and Steel story. And yeah, this was my episode of the season. I really, really enjoyed this one. As usual, the BBC top notch with the period stuff. As you say, the location, the lake, and everything was done. The special effects were good. You know, it wasn't an effects heavy episode, really. But it was really, really well done. And I've really got no negatives to make about this one. I wouldn't say it was perfect. Nothing is ever perfect. But this was my favourite one of the series.
Yeah, I'm going to put this one high on the list as well. It's the faults I've got with this episode are small faults that I'm going to come back to, and it has more to do with the Lone Cyberman more than anything else. But yeah, as for the whole thing with the house and everything like that, I find it similar to it's similar in tone to Blink. In fact, this episode, whereby you work out the problem as it goes through and how things like you didn't know what was happening with the DVD throughout the episode of Blink. It's only when later on when they go back to the house, Western Drumlins, that's when it all sort of falls into place.
Yeah,
this done a very similar thing, and I really did like it. It was for me again. I got to put it there and say, Nicholas Tesla's Nick of Terror, Fugitive of the Jadoon. This is definitely the haunting of Villa Diodati, probably the best one so far. By a good, I wouldn't say it's brilliant, but it's by a good chunk. And the next one, yay! Here we go. Ascension of the Cybermen. We're not quite at the finale yet. We're not quite there, but Ascension of the Cybermen. I can't even remember how this episode starts.
Don't it start in Ireland?
I mean, I mean, it does this whole thing with Brendan, the police officer, and then it jumps back and forth, and you're not quite sure what's going on, and then they land on a planet where there are 7 humans left, and they've been hunted by the Cybermen.
The Cybermen drone heads.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Last year it was the rubber frog. This year, cyberheads.
I mean, the rubber frog don't seem so bad now. At least that had entertainment value.
Like they could have used cybermats with wings.
Yeah.
Just like dragonflies. Just like big dragonflies just going, and that would have worked. That would have worked really, 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 really. No, floating heads. Floating like that. No. I mean, dear me. I liked a couple of things here. I liked the whole distributing of gold dust into the air. I thought, nice callback. I like the fact that they were setting up a shield to surround the place. And again, nice callback back to Time of the Doctor. and other Cybermen episodes. I liked quite a few things in this. And I like the fact that they didn't work. That's the main thing. I like the fact that the Doctor's doing stuff that the Doctor's done before, and this time it doesn't work. I like that. It's just great that it goes back to. It's kind of like. Do you remember Karate Kid? Remember at the end of Karate Kid, he does the whole crane kick.
Yeah.
And then it goes. You watch Karate Kid 2, and then in Karate Kid 2, he's in Japan. And he's on that pit, and he goes to do the crane kick, and the guy catches his foot, and puts him down on the floor, smacks him. I was like, that's great, because the style was before doesn't work this time, and I like the fact that the things that the Doctor's ahead of the curve here. The Doctor's so confident, we've got this, we got you covered. These Cybermen, not a problem, don't worry about it. And that doesn't work, and that doesn't work, and that doesn't work, and all of a sudden, the tables have turned, and this is not bad in terms of storytelling. Again, Cyberheads, oh dear God, I laughable was. I mean, you've at some point you've got to take the show seriously, right? And you're expecting an audience to buy into this stuff. It's already out there to begin with. You can't make a joke out of this and expect people to be okay with it. You just can't. So they could have just done mini drones, it's simple little designs. These stupid heads flying around and what are you doing? And then the fact that they were hunting down the last 7 humans. And I'm thinking to myself, why would they have bothered? Why would you send an entire army after 7 people? They can't get off the planet. They can't go anywhere. Just nuke the planet. Just nuke the planet. And this goes back to what I was saying before about having people in the scene whereby the resolve is punch them. They're right there. This happens throughout series 12. In Nicholas Tesla's Night of Terror, could have just punched Edison. In Fugitive of the Jadoon, the Doctor, or Ruth Doctor, fights those people, but they were shoot her. She's right there. Yeah, in Praxius, that Doctor, that bloody one that was trying to come up with she was right there. Just throw a brick at something at her head. I mean, and right the way throughout. Can you hear me? Those guys, that guy sticking the fingers in, he was right there on the spaceship. Aha! I am a so super genius. I'm so above you. Really? Use a crowbar. Wallop. I tell you what. Why it's that Hulk out moment from Avengers. It's that whole bit whereby he's talking to the Hulk and he's saying, "I am a god, and you're just a mindless beast." And the Hulk grabs him by the foot and he just boom, 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 puny god. I was like, yeah, yes, and that's what's missing through Series 12, because there are these moments whereby that person is right there, and they do nothing at all. So we get the Master shows back up again, and we get into what's going on, whereby he shows up at the end of the episode, and we get this whole portal to Gallifrey, which has never existed before ever in Doctor Who, and I'm sure the Time Lords would have known about it, but they didn't. But here it is. So maybe the Master created the portal. I don't know. We get a couple more flashes of the Timeless Child. That's pretty much it. I'm trying to think of something good that really happens in this episode. Can you think of anything really good that happens in this episode?
The ship effects were nice.
We had that weird ship that just had the spinny round thing that took off. with all the walls rotating, and thinking to myself, that's a health hazard.
Actually, the spaceships might have been in part 2. No, it's pretty much being outweighed by the head drone things.
Cybermen shooting, missing everything.
I thought the supporting cast were all right, actually. The last humans. You had the whingy one. You had the strong woman, obviously.
I liked her hitting on Graham. That's what I liked.
Yeah.
That's one thing I did like. Because it could be the end of the world, but people still get horny. So I didn't mind that. It put Graham in an uncomfortable position. I like that because Bradley Walsh is just, and again throughout the show, Bradley Walsh has been the. It's sad that he's leaving because he's been the shining star in this show.
Was it this episode? Sorry to do that. Was it this episode where the rumour started that Bradley Walsh might actually be the Doctor?
Oh no, I think that was just people wishful thinking.
Yeah, but do you know the
yeah. But no.
Yeah.
And this episode, the Master comes back, does his whole manic giggly thing. That's pretty much how the episode ends. And we left with the lone Cyberman who has been modifying Cybermen. We're not sure what it's been doing to the Cybermen because they don't tell us. They literally, he just opens up the thing, sticks his arm in, we see some sparks, we hear a Cyberman going, and that's, we don't know what he does.
No, we don't.
It doesn't say. We just, he's doing something to Cybermen. Before we get into the talking about the Timeless Children, I like the backstory to the lone Cyberman. I would change it a little bit, and we'll get around to talking about that once we've done Series 12, but let's get into the finale.
I will say, I do like the makeup for the lone Cyberman. Way they're done.
We'll talk about that a little bit more. Timeless Children. So they go back to Gallifrey. Gallifrey's been they go back to Gallifrey. Gallifrey's been annihilated. The Master has killed all the Time Lords. They go back to the Citadel. They're into the antechamber. They make a reference that I was so happy about, where they reference Deadly Assassin. In fact, that was one of the things that when they dropped it, I was like, well, you might not have done pretty well in the last episode, but at least the reference points are good. The fact that you're remembering the history of Doctor Who here so far. Then it's revealed why the Master has done what he's done, and that's because he has gone into the Matrix, as he has done before, and we've seen in other episodes, including Ultimate 4, which introduced us to another certain character, which we'll talk about that in a bit. The Doctor is trapped in the Matrix. This is a Doctor Who light episode for the Doctor. And for the finale, this shouldn't have been the case, but it was. The Doctor was pretty much out of it for the entire episode. It was up to the companions. There is the most ridiculous escape I've ever seen. There is the second most ridiculous escape I've ever seen. There's the third most inexplicable ridiculous escape I've ever seen. And that is the companions escaping the cyber ship in cyber armor, because they're all different heights, and yet not when they put the armor on. How that works, considering that a cyber armor we've seen in previous episodes assimilates people. we saw that in the episode with James Corden. So you can be assimilated as a Cyberman without being fully converted. Then they escape the ship as it's blowing up to get off the ship to go rescue the Doctor. They don't know where the Doctor is. They have the Doctor's on this entire planet. Use Gallifrey. Use the Citadel. They could be anywhere in this massive city. They find the Doctor in first door they walk through. Oh, there she is. I mean, what are you doing? Talk about shortcuts in story right then. And then they have to escape that, and they just happen to find another Type 40 TARDIS. A TARDIS that has been retired because the Doctor's TARDIS was an antique that the Doctor took out of... Even in the episode Name of the Doctor, they show him nicking it from a faulty TARDIS from a retired yard. And yet, here they are, next door to the Citadel in the antechamber, happens to be another Type 40 TARDIS. 2 Type 40 TARDISes. The shortcuts in this storytelling were just staggering. I'm going, like, you haven't even set that up previous. Deus Ex Machina was having a field day in this. Like, they happened to get out because of this. They happened to get out because of that. Oh, look, the TARDIS. Oh, look. This was a stroke of luck on every step of the way. Even the callback to Ryan's dyspraxia with him not being able to throw the basketballs in episode 1, and then now he's throwing that bomb. At least that had he failed and now he succeeds kind of aspect to it. But at least it was planted earlier on. Whereas these TARDISes just being there were just like, they just happened to be there. The teleporter just happened to work the way they thought it was going to work, and they happened to beam down to the exact place that they needed to beam down to. And there was just, everything was just a little too convenient here. There was no thought behind it at all. It was literally get from A to B to C to D, doesn't matter how we get there. And it reveals then what the Cyberman's plan is, the lone Cyberman, and he's got this new thing, this new thing called a death particle. Never heard of it before. Just happens to have it in his chest. It opens up and it's just in his chest, and there it is, and it's going to kill everything. And his plan is to make robots. Me. I'm not sure this could get any worse.
Oh, yes.
Oh. So, before this episode even aired, I messaged you on Facebook. I told you what was going to happen. I was told by somebody, and I'm not going to mention who it is, but I was informed by somebody who happens... I don't even know if I should say what they do. But
don't name, but you was told by someone.
But I was told by somebody with reasonable accuracy and authority of what was going to happen with this episode. And what happened with this episode was Sacha Dhawan was brilliant.
Yeah.
What, you want me to go further? Can't we just leave it at that? Okay. We get the reveal of the Timeless Child, and the Timeless Child is... I can't say it. I don't want to say it. It's the Doctor. It's the blood. Oh my. Oh, for the life of me. I don't know where to begin with this. I don't know where to begin with this at all. Out of all the good that Series 12 did, click, bang! there's a reason why we've left this live stream for a couple of weeks to digest this, as well as the technical difficulties. If I had started doing this stream 2 weeks ago, there would be more F-bombs than YouTube could have dealt with. It would have just been nothing but. So, the Timeless Child is the Doctor. She is this Moses character that was found. This child, it's Moses. It's the story of Moses. This child found on a place of isolation, taken, raised by somebody else. Turns out that this person is special. I mean, it's the story of Super Ted, as far as I can tell. It really is. It's the story of Super Ted. It used an abandoned thing that was experimented on. That was this great. I mean, what the hell are we? What the whole thing with Brendan turns out that it was just an illusion that was in the Doctor's mind. That this person wasn't even a policeman. That it's just this entire backstory that's been artificially created. You got this child that is the Doctor. That gets revealed to be the progenitor of the Time Lord race, and the reason why Time Lords can regenerate, and I tell you why I hate this more than anything else about absolutely anything about this entire story. This one sticking point, and I don't give a toss what anyone says. It's no longer Doctor Who. It's no longer Doctor. It's Doctor Time Lord Progenitor. Because now we know who the Doctor is. Now we know the significance and the importance of the Doctor to the Time Lords. And these people that are turning around and saying, but you don't know where the child came from. I don't care where the child came from. It's irrelevant. The fact that the Doctor is no longer from Gallifrey, the fact that the Doctor is no longer a Time Lord, the fact that the Doctor is the reason why the Time Lords are bloody special, the fact that the Doctor is no longer this stranger passing through, but this godlike creature that is my sheer, and I have been primed for this. I was ready for this a week early, but it still didn't change my horror when I saw it on the screen at the time. And there are people out there saying that this gives the Doctor deeper meaning. How? The only thing we don't know about this Doctor now is who the parents are. And for me, I think I said to you before, I might have, I said maybe her parents are named Palpatine. Because Chris Chibnall has now ripped off the story of Rey from Star Wars. And the oh my god, oh good grief! And here's what really pisses me off with this. Chris Chibnall is the head writer for Doctor Who. For now, he is the caretaker of the show. It's not his show. It's not his show, and you can do whatever you like to the show going forward. You shouldn't be dicking with the past. You shouldn't be dicking with what was laid before, because what was laid before was done in such a way that it was left ambiguous. That's the whole point of the show. To quote Brian Cox from An Adventure in Space and Time, remove the time period where they come from. It's Doctor Who, for God's sake. You know, keep it a mystery. They've taken away the mystery of what the Doctor was and replaced it with a lesser mystery. This insignificant mystery now of the Doctor. We now know who the Doctor is. Regardless of, we don't know, we don't know the Doctor's name. It doesn't matter whether the Doctor doesn't know what the Doctor's name is. Clearly, because the Doctor would have known. The Doctor didn't even know she had previous lives before Hartnell. So the Doctor doesn't know the Doctor's name. No, you've just made an arse end of the narrative. 56 years of Doctor Who narrative has just been kicked in the dick. And I know there are people out there going, oh, yeah, well, maybe the Master was lying. The Master wasn't the only one confirming this, though, because Jo Martin, Ruth's Doctor, also, previously to Hartnell, confirmed what the Master was saying. Also, she had a TARDIS that was a blue police box and not a silver cylinder. So, all this now is an absolute cluster. I'm going to try my best not to swear, but this is an absolute debacle, and there's no... you can write your way around this, but the worst part about this now is that there isn't another Doctor Who until next year. This is sitting with the fans. You're leaving this sit and fester and piss off the fans. There are people who are fans of the show that are fans of the show since episode 1, and I mean an unearthly child, that have grown with this. And I know people have gone, oh yeah, but it just adds to the canon. Yeah, but like, oh, they kept everything deliberately ambiguous through the Hartnell years, the Troughton years, the Pertwee years. They've done it that way so that all the information added on to little things. They didn't go back to the past and go, oh, by the way, he's God. They never did it. Even in Sylvester McCoy's era, the Cardinal Master Plan was to subtly introduce more mystery into the character. They didn't answer the pissing questions, though. They raised the question. They didn't answer them. The show's called Doctor Who because it just kept raising these little things, like when they done Genesis of the Daleks, and he's on about he's talking to Ace about the Hand of Omega, and he goes, "Oh, didn't we have problems with the prototype?" Well, those things just kept things on the. Is he being serious? Is he just being? You don't know. You don't know. But with this, you do. And this got me so mad. I on so many levels. And I don't. There's things I want to say, but Chris, over to you, man.
You don't want me to swear, no?
No, but keep it light if you can.
Okay. Well, that was a pile of effing bees, wasn't it? Right. Let me run with it for a minute then while you get your breath back. Calm down, lad. Right. Firstly, what's Gallifrey doing being smashed to hell after the picture with the curator of Gallifrey Falls No More? Secondly, I thought the Cybermen Time Lords looked all right, but I thought the execution, the idea was rubbish.
We'll get back to talking about those.
We'll get back to that. I'm sticking with that. This is a ruse by the Master. I'm not having it. I don't care. I'm not having it. That is not canon as far as I'm concerned. This is a ruse from the Master. He's put something in the Matrix. Ruth is a fake. She's not a doctor. It's all a load of crap, and that's what I'm sticking with. That's my canon. Because what's the point? You know, if this was well written, and this is what did happen, and I know we've seen the other faces before in the brain of Mobius.
Oh no! I refuse. I don't accept that at all. I want to come back to that before you go any further. I have heard so many people go, "Oh, but brain of Morbius, but brain of Morbius." Look, I have dealt with this myself on a previous video that I made called "The Identity of the Doctor." Right? I acknowledge these things, right? But we don't know. And the ambiguity of that episode was, who were those faces? We don't know who those faces were. We're not sure if they were potential faces, whether they were future regenerations, past. We don't know, and they don't answer it. This episode goes confirmed. And I'm thinking to myself, the point of this entire bloody episode was to satisfy Chris Chibnall's 10-year-old fanboy. Chris Chibnall is writing a letter to his 10-year-old self going, you remember that game you were playing in the sand pit when you were 10 about who the Doctor is? Well, I've just written it for real, so it's canon now. And I'm thinking to myself, you arse. And I think worse than that, but I'm not going there. Anyway, sorry, carry on, Chris.
Where did I get to? I got to the brain.
The destruction of bringing Morbius faces.
Yeah, and the precise landing onto the cyber ship from the little ship, was that this episode or the last one? These two have kind of blended together in their craposity. It's just, I mean, to be fair, I sat here with my missus and we watched it, and as a spectacle of television, I quite enjoyed watching it. When I started digesting and then thinking about it afterwards, I was like, oh, no, and that's why I'm going with it's a master plan, and he's gone back to the Matrix, and no, I'm not having it.
Yeah,
Slap yours, Chip, basically.
So right. So there's other problems I've got with this episode, right? So let's just deal with other problems first. I'm like I said, the Joe Martin Doctor wasn't lying. She backed up the master, what the master was saying. So they've kind of Chris Chibnall's kind of gone, oh, this is canon and there's nothing you can do about it. You know, this is who I think the Doctor is, because when I was a little boy, this is who I imagined the Doctor was. And that's, you watched Bringing Morbius when he was a kid, and that's why he's written this episode. This entire episode was written out of a pissing little moment in Doctor Who. That was as ambiguous as almost any other information that you get in Doctor Who about the past of the Doctor. I had previously done a video called The Identity of the Doctor. And one of the things that I mentioned in this video was the Morbius faces. But the reason why I made the video was because in previous seasons of the Doctor Who, the Doctor was always, they kept referring to the Doctor's identity. They done, and particularly in the lead up towards the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, they kept pointing to the Doctor's name. In fact, you had Dorian, the blue guy, who finishes an episode by going, Doctor Who, Doctor Who. Then they do a couple of other episodes, answering the mystery of who is the Doctor. So they were drawing, and the fact that the people were pointing out the absence of his name, that his name was a thing, the sheer absence of it, the hole it was creating, meant that it was a hole of significance. It was something of importance. And even to the point whereby you get the episode name of the Doctor, whereby the great intelligence is relating to the fact that the Doctor's name is that he is something of significance. So the fact that the show kept doing it, but it kept ducking it and going round it and dodging it, but the fact that it kept drawing attention to it meant that for Gallifrey, in terms of Time Lords and in terms of the universe as well, the Doctor is something significant. And I drew to the conclusion that the Cartmel Master Plan was right, and that the conclusion was that the Doctor is the other. You had Rassilon, you had Omega, and you had the other. The good thing was that they never said that. They never said that at all. And the fact that they got there via, this Tecteun has repetitively killed these children, because that's what happens when somebody regenerates.
Yeah.
So this chief scientist is murdering this child over and over and over to see how regeneration works, and is regarded as a hero, and gives Gallifrey regenerative abilities. And like I said before, the Doctor has always been special to me, because I've always thought that the Doctor's, all the Gallifreyans have been able to do little things, like the Master's been able to do hypnosis, others have been able to do different things like telekinesis and something like that. Like what's his name? Oh, the one that wanted from the five doctors.
Barossa?
Barossa, yeah. So he's had different abilities and mind control abilities and stuff like that. So they've all been able to do little things, but the Doctor's been able to do them all. You know, even in Shada with Sally Even, and the Doctor's been was aware of these things. So the Doctor's always had something a little bit special. We've even seen glimpses of it with Christopher Eccleston, in End of the World, where he slows time when he walks through those blades. And he's talking about to Rose about the feel of the turn of the earth and all that sort of stuff. But it's always kept there ambiguous. The Doctor can hypnotize people the same as the Master can. He done it in Silver Nemesis, where he hypnotizes one of the guards so he can run off. There's a temporary hypnosis and buggers off out the door. So you can do it. He's got all these extra abilities that don't get drawn up to all the time. He can transfer consciousness by headbutting somebody. He can do all these sorts of things. He can pass radiation into his shoe and chuck it in the bin. There is something special about this guy, but the fact that they never filled in the blank was the best part about it. Now that they've gone, oh, this person is somebody special, and this person is somebody special, not just because of them being the Doctor. This person is somebody special in general anyway. Again, they've turned this character into Moses. But the worst part about this is that, and I don't understand the Doctor Who fans that go along with this, that with this whole thing of the Doctor's no longer from Gallifrey, I don't understand the Doctor Who fans that are okay with that. Because it's like turning around and going, Superman? Not from Krypton.
Well, I've remembered why I think it's a load of rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because, right, now if you remember during the 11th Doctor, you had the bit where Clara went into his time stream. Now, people have said, oh, no, but if he didn't know, he could remember. No, that's rubbish. A time stream is a time stream. We didn't know anything about the War Doctor before. That was discovered by going in the time stream. So if she'd gone in the time stream and lived a part of all of his lives, then she would have been able to have gone back and she would have seen all the pre-stuff, which we never heard about. As you said before, we saw William Hartnell's Doctor get in a TARDIS and bugger off of it. That's why I think it's rubbish, and why. But I don't want to sound like a spoiled brat or an idiot, but I don't accept it because it's too far out. It's too different. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not canon. Or if it means I don't ever watch these stories again, then so be it.
Yeah. Or it's just really shit right then. And use the problem here. Again, regardless of whether or not people like it, people accept it, people don't accept it, or people accept it and they're angry about it, this is sitting with the fans. We're not getting another episode next week. We're not getting another episode in 3 months' time. It's not happening until the end of the year. And at the end of the year, it's not. I seriously doubt, unless Piers Wenger has pulled Chris Chibnall into the office for an emergency rewrite, we're getting Revolution of the Daleks, and that's it. It's not going to address any of these stories or any of these issues at all. I don't believe it will. So, regardless of whether or not you think it's the right thing or the wrong thing or whatever, whether this has impacted with the fandom in such a negative way, and it's left such a bad taste in people's mouths. Like I saw one video where a guy was literally so broken up with this episode that he was crying. Like his fandom, as far as he's concerned, and I had an argument with people. I'm a member of a Doctor Who board, and I had an argument with somebody on the Doctor Who board, and I said, I don't understand why you think that you're a Doctor Who fan just because you blanketly love this. Just because that doesn't make you a Doctor Who fan, that just makes you naive. Because I'm a Doctor Who fan, and I'm a Doctor Who fan in such a way that I don't like seeing the thing that I love getting beaten and raped. I don't understand somebody who can watch that and just accept it. And for me, like I saw this, And again, there's things that happened, and we've talked about this before, with the things that I like and the things I can't attack it for, because I know that there's things that I've said to you personally over one of these videos whereby I've gone, oh, I would have done that, I would have done this, I would have done that. I've said to you before, I would have definitely, I personally like the fact that they decided to use the Doctor Who theme for when the Doctor's doing something Doctorish. And it's in this episode, so I can't attack it for that. What I don't like is how it was used. That it's like I'm gonna think my way out. And I'm going, really? That's how the Doctor's thinking their way out, by actually just thinking. not some clever solve, not some clever back and forth, not trapping the Master, not doing it. And here again, the Doctor is standing, and this is another point of contention. We haven't even got to the end of the episode here. The Doctor is standing on Gallifrey. She's got that stupid death particle attached to a bomb. She's standing in the chamber with the camp Cybermen, Cyberlords, who are wearing robes for some reason. Why a Cyberman would want to wear a robe? He's not warm enough in that thing. He's got jazz hands going on. I like the face, sort of. I like the fact that it was a different face to the normal. I like some of the glyphs and that going on as well. I wasn't so keen on the downy, frowny mouth. But I did like that there was a change to the Cybermen, and it looked a bit more like a classic face again. But there's this whole pissing scene where all the Cybermen are standing around with Geordie with the bomb. Sasha is talking to Geordie, and then this guy comes walking down the steps and goes, "I'll do it, Doctor." And then they're having this back and forth. And this goes on for a minute. And I'm thinking to myself, you've all got guns. Shoot them. While they're having this, like, not one Cyberman went, what are you doing?
Well, judging on the rest of the episode, Cybermen get their guns from the same shots as the Stormtroopers now. They would have missed anyway.
But they didn't even try. They're all all standing around. Round. There's loads of them, and they're having a conversation. They're not even looking at the Cybermen or the Master. They're having this conversation about, oh, do you want to take this bomb off me? Yes, I'll take the bomb off you. Are you sure? I don't think you should. No, I need to do this. I'm thinking about I'll shoot them. And it just awful. And here's the other point here. And I wanted to reference this back to something I said earlier in this video, where I want to talk about this right now. The Doctor was not present. In that scene, the Doctor wasn't present. Because if that is the Doctor, then what the hell was the point in David Tennant's death? Because if this Doctor is willing to let somebody die for him, then why wasn't David Tennant? David Tennant saved Wilf because he wasn't willing to let that old man die.
Yeah.
This Doctor is willing to let this old man die. Why did this Doctor try to save Benny? In Orphan 55, why the piss did they take that caravan out onto the road to try to save that old man if this old man's okay to die? This episode infuriated me. It's illogical, it's stupid, it doesn't make sense. It's got the MacGuffin of the death particle, which we just found out about in the first episode in Ascension of the Cybermen.
Oh, didn't the lone Cyberman have a good send off to his story?
I mean, so let's talk about the lone Cyberman story. I liked a lot of things about this, and then he just done nothing. this lone Cyberman was a waste of story throughout. From the time that he's introduced in Fugitive of the Judoon, the idea of this lone Cyberman does nothing at all. I can't think of a single thing that this Cyberman did that had any impact on the Who universe whatsoever. There's something about the Cyber Wars. Fair enough. Don't really get anything more on that. We don't know what he did to those other Cybermen. His plan was to make robots, which even the Master laughed at. I'm not sure what the Master's plan was. What was the Master's plan? He wanted the Cyberium.
I think the Cyberium's probably going to be the MacGuffin that saves the Master from dying.
Yeah, probably. But again,
it's only right that the Master survives. That always happens.
The Cyberium was a silly idea. It was all a silly idea. So that's 10 episodes of Series 12, and it ends like that. And I'm going to be quite honest with you. I'm not entirely sure I want to see Series 13. And that's coming from somebody that you know. I have just purchased the Faceless ones on Blu-ray. It's coming, hopefully, either tomorrow or the day after. I have just purchased that because I love the show. I don't know that I want to see Series 13. And that upsets me. It does upset me. I'm not going to say that it does. Season 12 of Doctor Who was better than Series 11. It had its ups and downs, and then it just I don't know. There are fans out there that like this. There are fans that are happy with this. I'm not one of them. Even if they do correct this at a later date, the fact that they're willing to leave it sit with fans for this period of time is just, it's just shit. It's just shit. So, what do you think?
Don't know. It's difficult to follow that, not really. I probably will watch it, whether it's because I like it or if it's out of a sense of familiarity or just curiosity or just dogged determination. I don't know. But I mean, I'm holding out for it being some sort of master switcheroo because it's just crap, wasn't it? Let's be honest. It was just utter crap. All this great build up you had. The start of the last story had like my favourite episode. I mean, I know that they've been going on about the audience numbers dwindling over this series, gradually going down.
Don't get started on that. Don't get started on that because I argue with people over this shit because the stuff that people were saying you can't talk about that this year, about the numbers, when last year we could. Like it's a two-sided, it's a one-sided argument from them all the time. Because first of all, last year it was a case of, aren't the overnights great? Because Jodie Whittaker's first episode was like 10 million views. Aren't the overnights fantastic? Well, no, yeah, but wait for the consolidated. No need to. This year now it's like, the overnights are shit. But the overnights don't count. Gotta wait for the consolidated. Like you've changed your in tune. You can't have it. So let's go by the consolidated, shall we? Let's go by the consolidated figures. All the consolidated figures are shit. And I know there are people out there going, but people consume Doctor Who differently today. People consume it online. People consume it through download media. They watch it on catch up. They don't watch it. Whoa. Excuse me here. iPlayer, where Doctor Who catch up, where people could watch Doctor Who on TV at a later date, happened David Tennant's second year. We could watch Doctor Who anytime we chose for the next 30 days on iPlayer. on catch-up TV. We could Sky Plus it, which means that we could watch it anytime we bloody well like throughout the year. We could record it on the DVD. We could record it on VHS. At no point were we ever bound to watch it. It's like people forgot that we had the ability to record for the past 35 years. I used to record episodes of The Incredible Hulk. That was 1982. I mean, this is not new technology. What's happened is that Doctor Who is no longer unmissable TV. If people are consuming TV these days in different ways, then how the hell did Game of Thrones do so well? Regardless of what you think of Season 8, that pulled down massive numbers. Antiques Roadshow did better than Doctor Who. It was aired straight after it. Countryfile did better than Doctor Who. It aired straight before it. People turned off in the bit in the middle. I mean, the argument is preposterous. You know, we went through this last year with the figures last year where people were cherry picking the numbers. I go by what the final figures say, what the final figures are. And the final figures say people ain't watching it. That's what it says. The diehards are watching it, but they're not watching it. They're not buying the merchandise. They're not. I'm buying the DVDs of the classics, but I haven't bought Series 11 on DVD. I'm not buying Series 12. I'm not buying the action figures. I'm not buying the bloody play set, whatever the hell it is. I'm certainly not buying that shit third sonic screwdriver. They can't seem to understand that what they've done to this show has beaten it into a place that the Doctor Who fandom doesn't want to go. And by the way, like if we're talking about the figures here, figures in America were, I believe they said they were less than 250,000.
Yeah, that's poor, isn't it?
I mean, what are they talking about? So these people that are saying that it's being consumed in different ways, yeah, it is. People are consuming different shows. They're not eating it. That's how it's being consumed in different ways. They're not eating it. I mean, I don't know. I genuinely, they're going to keep making the show because people that make the show are in charge of the BBC now. Piers Wenger is in charge of BBC drama. He loved Doctor Who. He worked on it for many years. So they're not going to cancel the show. So that's fair enough. I'm not going to worry about that. If I had to say what the fix was here, it's something that they should have done a few years ago. And that is do a writer's room. Because you could have arguments in the writer's room and go, that idea is silly. Write that down on the board there, but that idea is silly. And they'd have other people to bounce ideas off each other that filters out the crap out of a story so you could end up with something that at least makes sense. You know? And you still have a chairperson in the, chairing have a head writer that's the head of the table that's saying, I want to do this story, this story, this story, this story, this story. But have somebody then have these team of writers working together to make these episodes as opposed to having these hit or miss writers. You go off, you write this episode. You've never written sci-fi before, you write this episode. And then they come back with something and then they go, oh, we're making that. Oh, fair enough. And it's just, for me, I think having a team of writers as opposed to individual writers, I think makes more sense at this point. I don't know if you want to add any more to that.
Well, they definitely need a team of writers because if it's as you say, it looks like someone said, "I've had a good idea. Is this my story?" And someone's gone, "Yeah, we'll do that." They don't know if they've bothered to read it or anything like that. They've just, yeah, we'll just do that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it has been throwaway episodes. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's been some good ones this year, but most of it, particularly the last one, is toilet television as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Did you know, I'm trying to think who this was. Somebody, I was watching a video before. I can't remember. I'm trying to think who it was. It was a writer, a science fiction writer. and he wrote an episode of Doctor Who, and he asked Neil Gaiman to edit it so he could make it work, make it fit more, be a bit more. He loves Doctor Who, so he wrote an episode and he submitted it using Neil Gaiman to submit it to the BBC, and the BBC told him, "We're not using your script. You're American." I mean, I don't know what to say about that.
Sorry, mate. That's the same vein as that character's Syrian. Let's get someone from London. You know what I mean?
But it was. But I couldn't believe it, and I can't remember who he was that I was watching. Who was the writer? But the fact that he had Neil Gaiman, I mean, he was passionate about it to the point whereby he had Neil Gaiman to script edit it. You know, for the life of me, I can't remember who he was. Who was the writer? Oh hell! But that's what they were told. They're not having an American write Doctor Who. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. Here's what I would do. Here's my fix for Series 12, right? And this is how I would have done it, and this is how it would have been different. So, I would have started off, we get rid of Orphan 55.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Right. So, we have Spyfall Part 1, Spyfall Part 2. Then we have Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror. Then we have Fugitive of the Judoon. Then, instead of so we swap the order around a bit. Then episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Episode 6. Instead of episode 6, because we've removed Orphan 55, episode 6 Praxeus would now be episode 5. Right?
Yep.
Episode 6 would now be an episode called Spyfall Part 3. Right?
Yeah.
And this is how I would change it and why I would change it. So we get rid of the crap from Orphan 55. Spyfall Part 1, Spyfall Part 2 happens pretty much the same way as it happens overall, except for one thing. Lenny Henry's character, Sir Lenny Henry, his character was a media mogul. He's a media mogul that consumed and took over different companies. One of the companies he took over, he bought out in 2012, a company called Cybex Industries. He absorbed it into his company. Now, Cybex is the company responsible for Cybermen from the alternate universe.
Yep.
Right. I would have had him and the Master at the end of Spyfall Part 2 have a short scene where he's experimenting on a serial killer. And his great success is this serial killer that he's managed to turn into a Cyberman. All the other attempts have failed, but this serial killer has worked. This serial killer is the lone Cyberman. Right, with me so far?
Yeah, I'm following.
Right, so then we'll end the story roughly there, right? So the first reveal is that Lenny Henry's character is the one responsible for the lone Cyberman. And it's of the Cybex Industries and the Master and Lenny Henry's character are the reason for this lone Cyberman. It's the serial killer was rescued by the Master and given to Lenny Henry as a gift to experiment on. He was on death row. He was rescued. That's we'll leave it at that, right? Doesn't need to be any more. So we go through Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror. We go through Fugitive of the Judoon. We get to Praxeus, and there's a mention of a death particle that this doctor that is, doing all the plastic bird research and all this stuff happens to mention. She just drops it. It's like, I've heard of this rumor, this legend of the death particle that it's seeded into the story. It's not just dropped in episode bloody 9 of 10 episodes. It's seeded early into the story. So we do that. The next episode is episode I call Spyfall Part 3. This episode has to do with, we bring back Lenny Henry's character, and we have to do with the lone Cyberman, and he's researching for the death particle. He's actually actively seeking it. He's actually going about it, but we bounced back a bit. Now, again, I wouldn't have killed C, so I would have had him call the Doctor back to Earth for this particular reason. This guy's gone missing, he's escaped, we don't know where he is, all this good stuff, right?
Yep.
Then I do another reveal, but this is at the end of the episode, so we'll get on to it anyway. So he's got all these things at his disposal. He's laying traps and whatever he can to throw the Doctor off, whatever, right? He's doing stuff for to make everything a little bit more difficult for the Doctor. He's willing to accept that the Doctor thinks he's caught him, right? So the Doctor's really, really confident in that. The lone Cyberman gets away. She's left with Lenny Henry's character, and he's put in prison, right?
Yep.
The end of the episode where he's put in prison, he gets bailed out. After it's all gone over, after it's all blown off and the Doctor's left and all this stuff, he gets bailed out. And then he walks up and he's just like, my manservant must have paid me out, is it? I said, no, he did. And when the camera turns round, it's not anyone you'd ever think it was going to be. I want it to be.
So you're gonna have to tell me then, because I'm not gonna think who it is.
I want it to be. The camera turns round and you see the face of Henry Van Staten.
Oh, that would be good. Oh.
And he said, "You've had problems with the Doctor. I've had problems with the Doctor. Let's work together." And Henry Van Staten has done things, put things in place that is going to lead up to the finale. And Henry Van Staten, Lenny Henry, and the Master working as a conjunction unit, working on what's gone on. So I'm gonna weave that into the story. Now, for Can You Hear Me, we'll keep that pretty much the way it is. But again, disappointing end, resolve quick. Then never mind. I would make that two parts, but here we go. I would have put into that story then the key log that goes into the story. The person that breaks that code, and the reason why they break that code is because it was set up by the Lenny Henry's company and working with Henry Van Staten. They actually work with the code. But here's the thing. I would have also put into it that one of the things that they were trying to do was crack the Skasith paradigm. I wouldn't go any more into it than that, but they were trying to crack the God code from School Reunion. I wouldn't. It just has one other thing that they're trying. Like as I mentioned, it's like it's on the wall, kind of like like seeing like the Ark of the Covenant in in one of the Indiana Jones films in the background, like just there for a mention or look, they're trying to do this. So I wouldn't do any more than that, but at least it's there. It's like one of the things that they're trying to do. And then we bring back the glowing men from Spyfall Part 1 and 2. And then you work out who the hell they are. Because I'm going to reveal those now as being the Vood from Keys and Mariners. From William Hartnell's Doctor Who. And they're working as well. But they are not just trying to take over, they are pissed. So then we get to the haunting of Villa Diodati, and I'm going to leave that pretty much as it is. That's a lovely episode. I'm not going to go any further than that. We keep introducing the Lone Cyberman, but the Lone Cyberman is now losing more and more of his Cybermen. So we start off with him being perfect at Spyfall, whatever, and now he's decaying. And the further into it that he's going, the more bits of Cyberman are coming off, and we see what's really underneath. And if you remember this, I said to you before that I'd love to see a Cyberman where you can see what's underneath. Because like I said, imagine what the horror is like, and so I couldn't believe that was in the show either. So but I'd like to see it in a reveal. You know, in episode 4 he's full. In episode 5 he's a bit missing, a bit more missing, a bit more. The handles are missing. By the time you get to the end with the Timeless Children, so this is how I changed this. The Cybermen are the ones that attacked Gallifrey. Now, the Gallifreyans are gone. I'm not killing off all the Time Lords like they did. I'm saying that it was the Cybermen that attacked Gallifrey using the lone Cyberman using an experiment on the death particle. Because now it makes pissing sense. So, we get into the reveal of the Timeless Child. And the Doctor is there. And the Master says, you know, you know who the Timeless Child is. Actually, you still haven't worked it out. And the Master says, you're the Timeless Child. And the Doctor says, what? The Master says, only kidding, it's Omega. He's coming back. And that's the difference, and that's the big difference I would make. That what's happened is that the Master has decided that the Master wants the Doctor, and what he's trying to do is lay a trap because he knows Omega is coming back, and he knows that Omega won't tolerate the Master. So the Master is scrambling for survival. And he's using Henry Van Staten, he's using Lenny Henry's character, he's using the Doctor, he's using the Void, he's using anything he can get his hands on because he knows if Omega comes back, he is screwed. And that's who I'm putting as the Timeless Child. That's who I'm making the Timeless Child. I'm giving everybody the same reveal that you've got, but I turn it on his head and go, it's not. It's somebody else. But you thought for a second there. And that's what I would do to Series 12 to make it a bit more of a fix.
Well, it works better than what we got. Yeah, no, that's pretty good. I'll be honest with you. I haven't paid it a lot of thought since the series finished. Other than like when I've spoke to you a couple of times about it, and that, it's not something I thought, but it hasn't. It didn't have an impact on me. So it's a couple of good episodes, and now I've just kind of chose to ignore what happened, and in my mind I've brushed it off as Master's messing about again, because it's just you don't do that to a show. It's just like.
That's what I mean. That's why I started to do this. It's like, what would I do differently, and why would I do that? You know, what would I add to it that would give the fans first of all, give the fans a good villain to bring back. Give the fans something a bit more to chew on. Third of all, give something back to the show that was a bit more thought out, and also. By making the Master a big threat, give the Master what the Master's always had a problem with: survival.
Yeah.
The Master's always been about, I am doing this because otherwise I'm going to die. And the whole thing of the Master was angry because there's parts of the Doctor in him. What? What are you on about? The last time he was insane because they planted drums in his head. I mean, how much more messed up are you going to make this guy? And I've never thought. I cannot go back and watch a Roger Delgado Master episode and assume that Sacha Dhawan's Master is the same person. I just don't see it. I don't know how you got from there to there. Like it's great what he's doing, and he is the highlight of this series for sure. His performance is brilliant, but the fact that you've got these people in the same room with him, and again, he's not a physically intimidating guy. You couldn't put him in a room with 6 burly blokes and expect him to be the one of the authority. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't know where to take that. Aside from the fact that he's not enough smart enough to command the room. He's not smart enough to make an argument. Because my problem with the Master has always been that, particularly later on, is the fact that the Master should always be correct. You might not like it might not be the right thing to do, but the Master should still be right.
Yeah.
The Master should still be like, well, I'm going to do this because these people are going to war anyway, so I may as well just kill them now, because they're only going to do it to themselves, and what they're going to do to themselves is much more horrific. But at least the Master would be like, on the side. And the other thing that we've done with the show for Series 12 as well is at the end of that pissing episode, Yaz turns around and leaves with the Master.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
I would have done that because the Master should have made a point that proved that the Doctor was wrong. It shouldn't have been a case of, or maybe the Master should have been able to make an argument whereby the Doctor is, because the Master shouldn't lie. The Doctor should. The Master shouldn't. And the Master telling the truth should have been enough to persuade one of the companions to go, Doc, you're wrong. You are wrong here. We had a little bit of that with Battle of Ranskow Kolos with Graham, but there should have been a moment here where the Master states his case, and Yaz should have just gone, I can't agree with you anymore. I'm sorry, but I'm on his side. Because at least then it gives Yaz something of a character that I can get on board with, and makes it a lot more interest. I don't know. The Series 12 for me, ups and downs. The biggest down being the last episode. They should have had another 3 episodes after series episode 10. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm head fighting my way around the mess, but
well, we haven't reached the end of the episode yet, have we? Because we've had that Handley parked spare TARDIS. I did like the way the TARDIS, the companions and the other people were on, turned into a house as it landed because of the chameleon circuit. That was superb. And the other one that turned into a tree. How did the Judoon get into the Doctor's one? It was bad enough when the Titanic crashed through it.
Shields were down.
Oh, I have never ever heard the Doctor say ray shields.
Donald Noble got in there. So I'm guessing they got in the same way. It's a different dimension. I'm not sure how you teleport through a dimensional portal. And if they never make another episode of Doctor Who, the Doctor's in prison for the rest of her life. In Storm Cage, by the looks of it. Prison that River Song escapes from over and over and over. And then she went all David Tennant on us because nostalgia. I don't know.
Well, I think if they never make another episode of Doctor Who, I think what I'm going to do is I am going to watch the last episode of Peter Capaldi. When it comes to the
just leave him laying on the TARDIS floor.
Yeah, when it comes to regeneration, I think what I'm going to do is I'll stop it there, and then I'll start it at the next nearest regeneration that looks the same, and I'll start with David Tennant again. And I'll just go on a continual loop of those Doctors. Because at least, I know Capaldi's era suffered from bad writing, but he didn't suffer from the crap that we had to get from this last episode.
I mean, those are the things I would have done to have fixed some of the problems, and I would have reintroduced Henry Van Staten as a villain. The mind wipe that they did on him or didn't take effect, or he wasn't good enough, or he was just in prison and he got out and he's now, he like retcon does wear off. So even if they had mind wiped him, it's been long enough that he could have got his memory back and he would have been out. He would have known about the Doctor. He would have known about aliens. He's in a prime position to have become a centerpiece for this. So in Dalek, where he was collecting all those different aliens, he has super knowledge. He owned the internet, all that sort of stuff. So he would have been a prime candidate for this series to be a welding point for all these different stories. And there are other characters you could have brought back, I suppose. But I think giving their fans Van Staten would have been a nice little thing.
I'll tell you what, if you decide you're not going to watch anymore, and we've got plenty of old Doctor Who to finish talking about. But going on what's happened this year to what we was talking about last year, I've got a feeling I'm going to send you a message one day. I'm going to say, do you watch Doctor Who? And you know I'm not watching it. I'm just going to put Van Staten. You're going to go, shit. then we'll know they're watching your channel.
Man, I'm telling you, no, the things that I said that we were going to put into what we would have done with Doctor Who. Again, I would have paired Yaz with the Master because I think she's a good fit for the Master. It would have given her something to do. It would have made her character really stand out. I would have probably done that. Actually, I would have probably done that earlier in the series as well. I would have probably done that about episode 6. So Yaz leaves with the Master, and because we've got Graham, we've got Ryan, you still have these odd bits whereby Yaz shows back up again. She doesn't have to be in it all the time, but at least then when she showed up, it would be an impact because you knew. Like I've never been able to describe Yaz as making an impact. Not ever. I mean, I forgot she was in the bloody episode Praxius. It was only when you pointed out that she was actually more proactive. I mean, that was the most proactive episode. And she's staying, and the other two are leaving. Oh God!
She might actually get some lines and something to do now.
But why can't she die?
Because she'll never get a chance to leave in the Master and then come back in black latex. I said that out loud, didn't I?
Yeah. I would like her to go with the Master, because I would like the Master to be able to make an argument that's actually effective. Because I've never known the Master to be sort of. The Master's always been able to hold an argument with the Doctor, regardless of whether or not you think he's right. He's always been able to hold his argument, and he just hasn't been able to. The whole thing of, I am doing this because I'm mad, because I'm angry, because you're the timeless child, is like, you're just insane now, and that's not good writing. The Master is more driven than that. And the Master's always been more driven than that.
I never thought I would watch an episode of Doctor Who that was more disappointing than the John Sim Master era, where the power of prayer made the Doctor big again and de-aged him. I was so disappointed that, in fact, I was almost embarrassed to admit I watched Doctor Who when that happened because it was so poor. But that looks like a Shakespeare masterpiece compared to what we had in the last episode. It really does. I like you. I don't think I'm even angry or sad about it. It's just made me indifferent and
indifferent to it.
Yeah, just indifferent to it. It's like, well, have a shit.
Yeah.
Next, you know.
Yeah. I really don't know what to say. I can't believe that people sat around, read that on a table, and nobody went, "This is crap. This is crap." I don't know. Again, you've got Cybermen chasing after the last 7 people in humanity. Why? Just nuke them. You've got people standing around with guns, not shooting anyone, or right in front of them. You've got this death particle that just shows up as convenience and everything's convenience. It's all just happens to be. Oh, there happens to be TARDISes right there. There happen to be Type 40 TARDISes right there, even though they're retired. There happens to be on Gallifrey. It happens to be this portal. It happens to be in this place. It happens to be just everything is just a one lucky thing after another. It's like the luck. It's like every time you roll a dice, it comes up 6. I just
And that thing with the island backstory, right? Now,
Yeah.
I'll tell you now. When me and my wife were sitting here watching that, when the Brendan, wasn't it, the guy, when he gets shot off the cliff and he lands and they run over to him and he goes like that again, me and my wife looked at each other and went, Captain Jack. That is exactly what we did, because he didn't regenerate. You know, we're not. There's no way as an audience we could have known that is something the Doctor was dreaming about. Because at no point did we see the Doctor go, "Oh, wake up! What the hell was that?" It was just. It was like, oh, we'll just tack that on over there and tuck a bit.
I don't want to get too much into the casting of the previous Doctors, but I will agree with some of what some other people have said about the fact that again, we go to the tokenism bit of they decided to cast these people not because they were for any other reason other than the tokenism fact of it. That the first person to play the Doctor happens to be a person of color and is a little girl, and then the next one is Asian, and then the next one's Indian, and the next one, and it's you just like going, I don't care if the Doctor's Indian or Asian, or I just don't think you should be doing it this way. It's not the what, it's the how.
Yeah. If you are going to do that, and you do want to be inclusive like that, and you want to put it on the screen, at least come up with a cogent story around it that makes it believable.
Exactly.
Think,
There's no point in making this tokenism. These people aren't in this show for any other reason than the color of their skin. That to me is offensive.
Yeah, I'd be offended.
That's racism. It's almost like they haven't been cast because for any other reason other than the fact that girl was black. That's why she was cast. I don't give a shit what anybody says. That's why she was cast. It was for representation, and they could have. It's the handling of it. I don't care if someone's black. I don't care if somebody's Chinese. I don't care if somebody's Indian. I don't care. I don't need you pointing it out to me and making me want to care. Because I don't care. I care about good stories, about good drama. It doesn't bother me about skin color, and if people are trying to make it as a point, then they've missed the point. It goes back to what I was saying. Doctor Who has always been indifferent. It's never been inclusive or exclusive. It's always been indifferent. It bloody well didn't care. It didn't care if you were black, white, lizard. It didn't matter. And it's the fact that they've, and I don't give a toss when anybody says this has tarnished 56 years of history that started with William Hartnell, that took his Doctor and has just gone. That's not the first. He's not the first Doctor. We've got all these diverse cast members first. The Doctor before him, and I'm thinking to myself, kiss my ass. I just, and it doesn't look good either, because here's the thing: you got all these black people, coloured people, all these girls, all these women that were the Doctor before William Hartnell, and then he decides to be 12 white men. What does that say? What message does that send? Oh, all the others were inferior? What are you doing? But that's not a good message. To go from, like when they cast Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, and I said this before, I said it yesterday, when they cast Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, the person, when they done the reveal, the person that we saw in the reveal is not this Doctor. She just isn't this Doctor. I don't know. The person that walked through that forest and took that hood down was a more dramatic, a more stoic, a more confident Doctor than this goofball that we've ended up with. And I just think that they're not playing Jodie Whittaker fair. I don't think they're playing into a wheelhouse of what she's capable of in drama.
Well, she's a fantastic actress. What have they done to her?
It's just the fact that I think that they just not playing to a wheelhouse. I think that she doesn't know what Doctor Who is. She's never watched Doctor Who. She doesn't know what it's about. She has no idea who this character is. She's only listening to what Chris Chibnall is telling her, and nobody's telling her any different. And nobody's gone, Jodie, that you're doing this. You're forcing it. Just relax. Just be you. Don't be doing this gurning stuff. Don't be doing all this. Don't force this performance, because that's what it feels like, a forced performance. She needs to just relax and be Jodie. And it's heartbreaking. That's the sourest note I can leave this on. I can only hope. Here's the thing, right? Chris Chibnall has never had a good Doctor Who episode. Not throughout Russell T Davies era, not throughout Torchwood, not throughout the Steve Moffat era. He hasn't had a great Doctor Who. He's never had one. The best episode he has written is Spyfall Part 1. And he always lands on the same tropes. He throws way too much into the episodes. He's always got a ticking clock somewhere in the episode. He's always got it. I just, if the naivety of this now, though, is the fact that what I don't like is the fact that as the fallout of this Series 12 is that they appear to be doubling down. Piers Wenger has come out and said they are behind the writing team of Doctor Who, and did you watch the show? I mean, I'm gonna leave it at Chris. I wouldn't like to say, Chris Chibnall needs to be replaced. I still think that the sort of views are right in that if he's got ideas that he wants to pitch for Doctor Who, let him pitch them. But have other people there to shoot ideas down. Have somebody there as a shit filter that can say, Chris, that's not a good idea. It's that having that script editor there to take his ideas and go, that doesn't make sense. Can we change that a little bit? Can we take that back? Can we have a rethink about this? Can we do that? And have people there offering ideas as well, not just shooting down ideas, but offering ideas as well.
Yeah, and also what I need to do is I need to take Jodie away and get her to watch a couple of Hartnells, a couple of Troughtons, a couple of Pertwees, and see. You know, if you
I genuinely no. So I wouldn't like to taint her with you should be playing it this way.
No, I didn't mean like I say she should be playing it, but so she can see the progression between the characters, because you know occasionally you can see you know. I'm sure Aldi done it a couple of times where he had a jelly baby on him. A little thing like that. It's just putting something in. There's nothing wrong. I don't want to change Jodie Whittaker at all. I want them to change the lines they give her and the direction they give her, because I think she's a fabulous actress. I mean, I didn't watch all of it, but my other half watched Broadchurch, and she's great in that.
Yeah, I've said before, like I've seen her in like St. Trinians, I've seen her in Black Mirror, I've seen her in other things. She can do it, but she needs to be able to just take the lines and just go with it. She should just be able to relax and just go with it. What we've got here, it feels like a pantomime performance. It feels like I'm any minute now Captain Hook's about to walk through the bloody door. There's so much ham coming on with the performance that I'm just. And again, you go back, and I said this again yesterday. You go back and watch that initial reveal that they did on during Wimbledon. when she's walking through the forest and she takes the hood down and she just looks straight at the camera, and that is a centered person. What we've got now is this clown of a doctor that is inconsistent. That is unwilling to kill one way, is another way willing to kill this way, is not willing to save this person, but is willing to save that person, is just contradicting all the time. And it is goofy, is serious. And the Doctor's had moments of twisting and snapping and changing. But it's always been natural. It's always been from a point of the actor as opposed to being a point of the character. So that it's not being laid on. It's not like delivered in a over the top acting performance way. Whereas that's what's happening with Jodie, and I don't want to see it. I don't want to see that from the Doctor. I have nothing else to add. I don't want to see her replaced, because I think that you've given. Here's the thing: if they got the writing right, she could have another 3 years in that, and I'd be fine with that. But
yeah, I mean, it took them 2 years to get Capaldi's writing up to scratch. I mean,
Yeah.
there was 1 or 2 good episodes in 8 and 9.
It took him.
Brilliant.
It took him until Hellbent to really nail it.
Yeah.
And then they kept nailing it with like Psycho Invasion. I mean, yeah, and yeah, from then on, Psycho Invasion, Hellbent. Yeah, it took him a while, but I mean that's a missed opportunity. It's Capaldi era. We will get on to doing Capaldi era at some point. I don't know how you're feeling for next week. If you fancy doing more Doctor Who next week, I'm gonna try to be in the other room next week. So if you fancy doing it, maybe we'll start watching Doctor Who next week.
Well, I am off work for 2 weeks now because and being an asthma sufferer, I could get a letter from the doctor advising me 12. So it's a strange old time at the moment, mate. So yeah, I'm more than happy to jump on. The new camera seems to be better. I'm not just a face anymore.
Yeah. I think what we'll do then next week. How do you fancy? We've done Raw, so how do you fancy End of the World?
We'll do End of the World. We've still got to fit in Scream of the Shackler at some point.
We have as well. Yes, we have got to do that. Unfortunately. I wish I could give that episode a bit more higher praise, but it was good inspiration to do a new Doctor Who show. I'd say that about it. As for Series 12, final impressions of Series 12, a step up from Series 11, a massive kick in the balls between Series episode 9 and 10. I still don't understand how the hell we can only get 10 episodes every year when you've got a dedicated studio at Rothlock that is for the making of Doctor Who. I've said this before. I don't know how you can do that. I don't know. There are things that they used to make 13 episodes of Doctor Who a year. They used to make Doctor Who Confidential. They used to make mini-sodes that filled in, and now they can barely scrape 10 episodes, and they're not even great episodes. This has gone from they've gone from making Doctor Who in a small factory in Power Station Hill in Upper Port to a dedicated actual sound stage that was built purposely for this, and now they can't scrape together more than 10 episodes. I genuinely don't understand it.
It's just I've got no answer to that. I mean, were the episodes longer this year? They were still 45 minutes, weren't they?
Yep.
Apart from the finale.
Yep. Which is not really that different.
Yeah, so they haven't used the odd 15 minutes. They haven't used 3 episodes worth, extending the other ones. That would be at least a reason for it. But no, as you say, it started off really well. Some good episodes, and
worst one is Orphan 55. I say that Timeless Children. 2 different reasons. But yeah, Orphan 55 is probably the worst episode of Doctor Who ever written. Because I'll say this about the Timeless Children. Up until the very end of the episode, it was still going places. And it was the last 15 minutes of that episode that really just sunk it. The last 15 minutes of that was the iceberg that hit the Titanic. I mean, there were things that were convenient, and there were things that it could have been explained out, and it could have been, but no. It was just so contrived, and yeah, what a bummer of a note to hit on. And again, the worst part is that it sits with the fans now for the rest of the year. Goes nowhere for the rest of the year. We've got to put up with this sour taste in your mouth. They're not even doing a mini-show. They're not doing anything. I mean, and I've said this before, I think that one of the problems I've got with modern shows like this is I'm not going to say that they betray the fandom, but they don't treat the fans with the same sort of reverence as past shows have. And they certainly, given that the fans are their revenue stream, to blame fans for not liking something that they've written is absurd.
Yeah.
It's just absurd. And I don't know what to say about that. Anyway,
well, if you want to end on a happier note, did you see the little silly intro that Stephen Moffat wrote with Strax for the re-showing yesterday of the Day of the Doctor?
Oh, for the one in the cinema that was on the cinema screen.
I don't know. It was a little Strax puppet. I thought he'd done it.
Oh, right.
Have you not seen that?
No.
That's excellent. It's excellently silly.
I'll
send you a link in a minute. Save you searching for it. But that's stupendously silly and better than the end of the Timeless Children.
So yeah, and I think that's a good place to end it because we've covered. We've gone on for over 3 hours, but at least we've covered all 12 episodes, which is new for us.
You mean all 10 episodes?
Yeah, 10 episodes. We covered series 12, 10 episodes. But normally we go on for 4 hours, and it's normally a 45-minute episode. So we've done well here. We've covered a lot.
However, next week.
Yeah, next week will be 6 hours, and we're going to look at talking at 15-minute episode. But I mean, if there's something to be taken from series 12, it's that at least Graham and Ryan are still in it. And Yaz is still in it. Still.
She was better this year. They gave her a bit more to do.
They have given her a bit more. Again, it's been a marked up improvement. Overall, in general, it's been a marked up improvement. If we ignore episode 10, it's been if we take out episode 3, ignore episode 10, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it was an excellent 8-episode series that was.
Yeah. That's fine. So, but I've marked up improvement from the past few years, in fact, as well. So, overall, I can understand why the numbers are failing. And if you don't believe that the numbers are failing, then I can't help you. I'm not going to argue with you. It's a waste of time.
No, we're not going to argue with anybody. I mean, anyone that watches this, this is only our opinion. You know, doesn't mean we're right.
No, I don't know. It's like trying to convince a blind person of the color purple. You can't do it. It's impossible to do it.
No.
But yeah, I mean, the numbers are clearly in, and the numbers are saying fewer people are watching. Whichever way you want to look at that, believe that or you like, it definitely proves that Doctor Who is no longer unmissable TV, for sure.
Yeah. The days are gone of the 10 million viewers.
Yeah. Anyway, that's where we can leave that. So next week, if you fancy it, what do you fancy? Next week, we'll do Scream of the Shotgun next week then.
It's up to you. If you want to do the end of the world, it'd be nice. Might be nice to watch a Modern Who that's a decent episode. 'Cause I didn't mind that one.
Well, I mean, there's lots of stuff there that they. I mean, that's a minefield that they could. That's an episode that they could mine. You've got the tree people. You've got the Moxel band, Balhoun. You've got all these different blue people walking around, and it's a good big alien episode. And I think we could use the end of the world just as a pick me up.
Well, let's do that then.
So I don't know if we could do both. Well, let's do Scream of the Shotgun as well, because the Scream of the Shotgun is less than an hour, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, it's only about 40 minutes, something like that.
So we can do that. So next week then we'll do Scream of the Shotgun and we'll do The End of the World. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it.
Marvelous. So it'll be
We're
Sunday
back.
next week. Yeah, Sunday next week at 8 p.m. And I promise the problem I've had this week and the problem I've had with trying to get things set up and I'm putting aside what's going on in my personal life. I'm putting aside what's going on with demolishing my house and going on with all these problems. I'm putting them all aside because I want to watch some Doctor Who. So, have a good one, and we shall see you next week, Sunday at 8 o'clock for more Doctor Who. Take care.
Superb.